close my eyes.
Breaking news, Liverpool's new midfield three has just been signed. So if you can hear me, because my thing's a bit feedbacky. Right. I can hear a feedback. But there you go. There's Liverpool's new midfield three, as you see it right there. Right, guys, you all right?
Hey, Jay.
You good? You good? I can hear feedback. Has anyone got it on in the background? Because I can hear feedback.
No. Let me...
Yo,
it's Cav. Cav! Cav! It's because of his earphones.
Oh, man.
But if everyone knows from the last stream, that's Liverpool's new midfield three. That is Tyler Morton, by the way. If you Google Tyler Morton, that's the picture you get.
Jeez.
Shirley from EastEnders and Anthony Gordon. And if anyone don't know, Anthony Gordon and Claire Balding, they look exactly the same. No difference. No difference. Eyes, chin, and hair is exactly the same. Tell me I'm wrong.
minus the earrings.
Yeah, exactly the same. How you guys anyway? You good?
Yeah, doing good. Big up everyone in the chat.
Yeah, as always. Big up everyone.
Oh man! What a time to be a football fan, eh? What a time to be a football fan. Liverpool shit, and Man City. Oh well, trying to rob the world by the sounds of it. I don't know. Let's get on with it first. Let's talk about it. Let's talk because I ain't heard from you two guys about the City situation. So, Cav, what's your views on this City situation right now? What's happening? Because it's all allegedly, by the way, for anyone watching. So, yeah, we've covered ourselves there. What's your feelings on it? How do you feel as a Liverpool fan as well and a football fan at the same time?
Well, I think my initial reaction when I sort of seen it was that it's just one of them things. Like we've seen this before, and Man City find a way of sort of wiggling their way out of these things. And then, like as the day went on, a bit more information was coming out. It was stated there was at least like 100 charges and stuff. And then I think some people, reporters, and people in the game were starting to comment on it and stuff, and started to understand sort of the severity of it and the fact that they can't go to CAS to sort of fight their case and things like this. So I was like, oh wow, this is big. This isn't going to be something that can be swept under the carpet. So yeah, it's massive. I only wish it could happen in a season where we're actually still up there, and competing. But hey, it is what it is. I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know what the punishment is going to be. Obviously, none of us do yet. But I mean, just chuck them out the league, strip them of their titles, and make an example of them. In my opinion, I don't have much care for Man City, to be totally honest with you. I'd feel sorry for the fans, but because they've not done anything wrong, they support their team, and they've, of course, had really good moments. But that's And then moments can't be taken away from them, but you know, it might all stop if they get, you know, chucked out of the league and things like this. So that's a shame for them. But you know, we've suspected, you know, some dodgy, you know, activities and dealings and stuff, and you know, justice should prevail. You know, as a Liverpool fan, I'm just like, yeah, I'm just like, I wish we could just get our act together, because if Man City ain't in the league and in Europe, you know, they're a force to be reckoned with in Europe and stuff as well. See how it impacts them there. That might help us in our bid to sort of win more titles and stuff. So let's wait and see. Like if they can manage to sort of wiggle their way out of this one. But yeah, interesting. Yeah, just time will tell now. I'm not quite sure on timescales, to be totally honest with you, as to what sort of information we're going to get now and when decisions get made and appeal processes and things like this. I've sort of read up a couple of bits and they vary. Some were saying that the punishment can be quite soon, but the appeal process can run on for like 6 months to a year. And I couldn't quite wrap my head around that, because I was like, how can you get a punishment before an appeal? But, you know, maybe we'll find out.
Yeah. Ends, your feelings on it all when you first heard the news yesterday?
Cav didn't leave me no room to explain anything, so I think, for my part, I think I'll pass on the questions. No, I'm playing.
Sorry, Ends.
Oh no, it's alright. I'll just echo what Cav says. But no, the only thing that I don't really care, to be fair, Jamie, honestly, because I've seen this before where they've, you know, found guilty for doing something, they paid a fine and then they just swept it under the carpet. So for me personally, I don't really care unless you're telling me that you're going to give us 3 titles that we should have won. I'm up for that shameless banter around. I'm up for getting the bus ready and parading those 3 Premier League trophies. Other than that, honestly, mate, I don't really care about them. You know, we know they've been doing it for years. We know Chelsea have been doing it. So it's only now, I think, when it suits people, they're kind of pushing the agenda on them now. If that means Arsenal wins the title, yeah, I don't really like that, because I don't really like their fan base as it is at the moment. So, but yeah, I don't really care about them, man, really. I feel that they're going to pay a fine. I don't feel they're going to be a hefty punishment. I don't see them getting any points deduction, and I don't see them getting relegated. So, who knows? Couple of million, maybe a little 10 million fine, and then they'll just be like, oh, that's chump change. They'll just pay that and carry on as normal.
I'm not. Can you hear feedback again? I'm not sure. I think the Premier League are going to throw the book at them. I think the Premier League are going to throw the book at them. Look, the Champions League thing, they were not guilty, but they sort of were, because no, UEFA took like so long they got time barred. So you know,
but you say that,
got away with it.
Yeah, and you're dead right. The time ran out for UEFA.
Yeah.
But I mean, look how big of an organisation UEFA are. Like, how does that happen? And I would suspect, without knowing really the evidence, is that Man City put so many obstacles in the way, probably wrapped them up in so much paperwork, that actually the main objective wasn't able to get to in time. And I think that's where Man City, they have, you know, the right people in place. Or seemingly have the right people in place when these things come around, and they manage to sort of wiggle their way out of it. I mean, they're still so powerful. Do you know what I mean? They'll be getting the best legal advice that you possibly can, and they'll be paying top dollar for all of that. So
80 grand a day, apparently. The lawyer, they got 80 grand a day, and he's an Arsenal fan. I don't know why the media have to put that in like it matters who he supports. He's going to do his job.
They actually went up to him and asked him, "Who do you support while being a court case?"
What's it matter? But what's it matter? He's going to just do his job.
What is going on in
he's
this
not going to sit there and go, "How do I screw Man City?" When he don't really need to. Look, it's 100 things they have apparently done wrong, and look, we all know the dealings there at City. Part of it, I don't even look. If you've got a lot of money, yeah. If you've got so much money like City have, and they're willing to spend it just to make their club better, is that really a bad thing? That's all I'm going to say about it. Like, is it really a bad thing if you're spending all this money just to make your club better and succeed? It's not like the Juventus situation. This is what people get mixed up. Juventus situation was a criminal act. People went to prison because of it. It was match fixing on the pitch. That is why Juventus got all their titles stripped away from them and got relegated to the bottom end of Italian football. For City, it's more behind the scenes stuff. It's not actually on the pitch stuff, because we've actually beat them to a title. Leicester have beat them to a title. Chelsea have beat them to a title. Since this investigation apparently goes back to. So we can't always say it's on the pitch stuff. Plus, they've never won a Champions League at the same time while all this is going on. No, so it's not on pitch stuff. So I don't know if you can get at them for on the pitch matters. So it is a very difficult thing they're going to have to do. But I've been reading today that apparently Man City. Premier League clubs want champions kicked out if found alleged guilty of financial breaches. The clubs have been pressing the hardest for action until Monday, where some other members of the so-called Big Six. There is feeling that taking away City's titles representatively would be meaningless and cause confusion, but a fine is also not likely to have much effect. Now, I was saying this yesterday on my show, that if all City get is a fine, I see all the Premier League clubs in the all the teams in the Premier League appealing that, because it doesn't stop City doing it again if they are allegedly found guilty of this crime. It won't stop them doing it again if the fine is nothing.
Well, not just that.
Because they're so wealthy, and it won't just stop them. It's other people. People at Newcastle will be like, yeah, people at Liverpool, John W. Henry and all that might be able to cook the books a bit to give Jurgen Klopp a bit more transfers. If the fine.
Bad example of that
one. But if all it is a fine, I can see the teams in the Premier League getting mad about it. Taking titles away, I don't think it's going to work, because the logistics are going through everything every season. Man United finished 10 points behind Man City in one Premier League season. Does that mean they deserve to be champions? I mean, that's just, what I mean? The logistics of it is a bit weird. And
I think they should strip him of the titles, but
not give it to anyone.
I think once you start promoting people up positions, it gets very messy, because not only have you got
the teams that got relegated.
You got people. It will start off with award the second place with the title. Then it will be award fifth place with a Champions League spot. And then them clubs will be claiming financial sort of compensation for not having that revenue come in by being in the Champions League. The teams that get relegated, they'll want some kind of compensation. League anywhere between top 4 and 17th place, you get money dependent on how where you finish in the league, how often you've been on telly and things like this. So they'll all be claiming compensation. And it just gets very messy, because what you basically do is you create a situation whereby almost every club that's been in the Premier League for the past decade will stake a claim towards getting compensation. And then where do you draw the line? It becomes very messy. Unless you're going to say that's the situation and Man City are the ones that pay them clubs, then I don't think you can go down that road. I think you simply just have to either take them titles away and void it, or don't. I think once you start messing around with people's league finishes and things like that, it gets very, very messy.
Because the teams that got relegated.
To think about it, I think we're going into a bit too deep there. I think it's just more. I think it's based on when they won the title and whoever finishes second. I think that's everyone else below that don't really count. It's just
it does though.
I get it, but at the same time, if they do it that way, you're saying it. That means you're right. Everyone has to be compensated down the league.
How can you shift one team up a spot and leave everybody else?
Well, everyone gets shifted up one, don't they? That's the thing. So if Man City are taken out of the league and their titles are taken away from them, then you've got to shift everyone up the league. This is why I don't think
they'll be taken out. I just think they'll just change the title. That's it.
The teams that got relegated will be like, oh, hang on. We got relegated that season when maybe, the team that finished rock bottom, probably will go down anyway. But the team that finished third from bottom might have thought, hang on, if City got done for this, we would have been one step above the relegation zone. So we would still be in the
Nah,
Premier League
man,
with
they were
Premier
shit.
League money.
If they were shit,
So-
they were shit. I ain't caring about
Yeah, but if you're the
nobody.
owner, if you're the owner,
Try tell them that.
Nah,
Yeah, but the
you were
problem is-
shit that
the pro-
season.
the
Get
problem is
relegated,
if you're an owner of one of them football clubs, you're going to be on the phone straight away. You know what I mean? And that's what's going to cause the full circle. Now, the punishment for City, if they are punished by this, I think they will. I don't know how they get away with all 100. You know, even if they get away with 50 of it, it's still 50 claims
But
there
there are
that
some
they're guilty of.
in there, isn't there? Obviously,
Yeah.
because there'd be like 4 or 5.
Well, it's like playing Maldini. They played Maldini, so apparently
what it sounds like,
Maldini got-
guys, you guys just want, they're going to get away with murder now because we don't want to go, because we don't want to confuse everything down the list. Nah, they got found guilty. We need to just, if they have to pay everyone in the league, pay them. I don't care.
Yeah, I
'Cause
think-
what it sounds like, they're just going to get a fine, but based on, because no one wants to strip them of a title, that means there's too much complication. That means we don't want to kick them out of the league because that complicates that as well. So the only thing left on the table really is either points deduction or strip or what? Or fine them. That's the only 2 real options left then.
Yeah, Premier League clubs apparently said today that if they are found guilty, they want them kicked out of the league. And then the EFL The EFL spoke up today and said, "We're not having them if you relegate them, so they have to go to non-league." So,
But I don't quite understand why they wouldn't want them though, because having a big club,
because they cheat their league as well. They're not
they would, yeah. Haaland rocking around in League 2, you mad?
Hey, go
But
score
like,
records
but-
and be out the window.
If I'm a League 2 side and Man City is suddenly put in, right, and there'd be a bit of they'd have to work out how they free up that spot, whether it's an extra promotion place in the year prior or something, I don't know. But like Man City being in that league, like unless the owners just sell up and walk away, they're gonna just get promoted again.
Yeah.
But when they're in that league, the other teams will benefit because there's
Yeah.
money in that league. And don't get me like, don't be surprised for this to happen, right? Man City end up in League 2, and then all of a sudden you end up with like League 2 games more often on Sky. Like it never happens unless it's like a cup. Whereas now you see like league games and stuff because the bare basics of it is like the biggest, the fans are the most important thing because we watch the games and we pay for the tickets, match day tickets, season tickets, and TV, right, to watch these games. So we want to see these clubs. So it doesn't really matter where they are. You know, if Man City are in League 2 and there's enough people that want to watch them and they think they can, you know, show one of their games against Wycombe or whatever it is, and it will get enough attention to the channel and things like that, and it will basically make money, then they'll look to do it. That's how that, you know, there's no morals with these TV broadcasters.
They want money. They want money.
Exactly, and that's what they'll do, and then you know these other teams will benefit from it. So you know,
this is hard to talk about because it's still only an alleged thing that they've done, not been for a guilty of anything. But we're a Liverpool channel. They've been our rivals for a few years. I'm just going to have a little bit of fun with it, you know. And I expect City fans to do the same if it was Liverpool. Do you know what I mean? Have a bit of fun with it. But this is true what Nicola said. If they do get found guilty of this, HMRC are going to want to have their say and know where all this money's gone in the country, aren't they?
Well, it gets tricky here now, right? Because everybody thinks about HMRC. I mean, your example you just said, Jamie, about Roberto Mancini, where he was actually paid from a separate company, which amounted to more money than his actual salary. Yeah.
So like I can say, like I used to be a swimming instructor. Yeah, damn fine, good one as well, by the way. But I used to be a swimming instructor, right? And so I used to work for whoever I worked for, yeah, and I did lessons, right? And then I'd have parents used to come up to me after and go, like, can you give my kids private lessons, you know, because I want to get them moving up faster, getting my kid moving through the stages a lot quicker. And they go, do you do private lessons or at a price? So yes, everything's available, you know, and then they'd pay me to do private lessons off the book.
Not everything.
Not everything's available. No. Depends how they look
at it as well.
Depends how the parents look, I suppose. But but yeah, I mean, I went to people's houses. I went to someone's house in Alberton who had a massive house. They had their own pool in their garden that I did lessons in. I did a lot of private work, and I got paid for it, right? But you know, I paid my taxes on it at the same time. So you have to pay your taxes on it, right?
Of course.
The
Yeah.
problem is they had a coach they hired, then paid him through another company to take training out of hours, to keep them going. And that is not legally allowed through the rules of the Premier League. So
Yeah.
it's a mad one. It's a mad one.
It's quite simply tax evasion, and it's just a white collar crime. It's fraudulent, and it's breaking the law.
So
Yeah,
can I ask you guys a question? What if they only just get a fine? Then what do we do then?
This is the point. This is the point I was going to make, Ends. This is where, when you're right to mention HMRC and the government and things like that, but what you have to acknowledge is these states have also invested into government schemes, and there's trade deals and all sorts. So this goes beyond football now, and it's not going to be as simple as, putting the hammer down on Man City, because you're putting hammer down on people that own Man City, and there's also connections outside of football. So this is where it gets very murky, and this is why I think they've got a chance still of wiggling their way out of it, because it's not just the case of relegate them, dock them points, give them a hefty fine. There's other things at play here outside of football, which is something that we just have to be real about. I know we're all football fans and we just want to focus on the football and simplify it as much as possible, but that's not the UK government, and that's not what they agree,
bro. Listen, that's why I say it's a fine. That's it.
Jamrock says, what's HMRC? It's basically tax. Yes. People run the tax in the country and stuff like that.
Her Majesty Revenue and Customs, I think.
Yeah,
Well
that's
done,
it.
Cav.
His Majesty now, Cav. Get it right. How dare you?
Until the title ain't changed over yet. The title ain't changed over yet.
No, it's true, ain't it? It's true. It's not till the was it April?
Yeah.
So that's what it stands for, Jamrock. The thing with the fine would have to be extremely hefty. You'd have to look at $500 million. It'd have to be something like that. I think someone said in chat $500 million to $1 billion. I think it might have been Jamrock.
Do you know what? That's the kind of price, Jamie. They could buy a new club and start again.
Yeah. That'd have to be the fine that everyone's happy with. Because the problem is, if the fine is like 100 million, they'll be like, well, we bought an average Jack Grealish for 100 million. Do you reckon 100 million's going to affect us too much? And then they go, and then behind the scenes they go, be like, that's the only thing we can get done for it. Just keep doing it. You know what I
mean? They'll go into court, pull Jack Grealish out and go, can we just give him?
Yeah, it's Jack.
They'll be like, no, 20 million.
He's a great worker. He'll help you. He'll do your garden for you or whatever. But it's mad. Look, obviously, everyone's going to be talking about, because look, rivalries massive. Liverpool, City, you got Man United there, Chelsea. Oh, Chelsea got to be careful. Arsenal, they're all going to look at it and go, get City gone. just get City gone. Let them go. Get them gone. But that's because we're rivals. But the Premier League will look at Man City and think they're one of our biggest sides that bring in the money. Why would we want to let them go? Look, this is why the Super League came up. And the thing is, I heard this the other day. If the Premier League don't give Manchester City enough of a sentence, say like a big fine or kicked out or expulsion or getting rid of titles, anything like that, points deduction, and it's not hefty enough, a lot of the teams, especially the big six teams, are go, you know what, we're going to branch away and make our own league, because these rules, you're just making City are bigger in the Premier League. So we're going to branch off and make our own league. Hence the Super League in the first instance. I wouldn't be if they got away with it. I wouldn't be surprised if the big six all looked back into the Super League. It wouldn't shock me.
Well, I think the thing is as well, like, I'm sure you're aware about this white paper that was going to be published, I think, tomorrow. It was going to be put into place tomorrow, I believe. And that's why it makes the timing of this announcement by the league quite interesting, because they're basically just trying to prove a point or like pull some power back that was seemingly going to be taken out of their hands they want to govern their own league basically, and that was being taken away from them. So I think they might just have to come down hard and listen to the other representatives in the league, which is the clubs, and go double down on what it is their objective is. Because if they don't, and they let Man City get away with it, their whole sort of credibility, I mean, it's pretty poor anyway, let's face it, but, you know, their whole credibility and trying to, you know, maintain financial fair play and stuff, it's all a farce. And then soon as these owners, especially the Man City owners, get a smell of blood, you're dead right. They might just look at it and go, well, let's flip this script on you now. You're not capable of doing this A, B, and C. I tell you what, we're going to go away and branch around our own Super League again and not get tied up with you again. You know, it can turn. You know, these are the powers that are in play at the minute. So, yeah, it's crazy. I don't think as football fans we can simply just look at it and go, "Oh, the top 6 don't want them in. That's going to mean they get relegated." It's like, no, that's not going to work like that. There's so much more to consider.
I mean, you look at Rangers in Scotland. No, they got demoted to the bottom of the Scottish football, didn't they? For sort of like similar kind of backstage money stuff, weren't it? And Juventus is a different thing. Yeah, no one should count the Juventus thing because the Juventus thing was a criminal act. People actually went to prison for it. You know, it's a completely different act to what they did. But I don't know what the thing you give Man City. I do think though. I think the Premier League, I look a bit hard on it because they go think, hey, this is our league. We don't want to put our league in jeopardy. And everyone looks at our league as a joke if City get away with it. That's why I'm like, City and the Premier League and be investigating this for 4 years. For them to investigate this for 4 years, they must think they got a serious stuff on them to publish this now. You know, and I mean, so the Premier League must think they got to say. I think the Premier League is more powerful than UEFA as a body. Look, the reason I say that is because the Super League. The reason the English clubs didn't go through with the Super League in the end of the day was because they didn't want to get thrown out of the Premier League. It has nothing to do with UEFA. They couldn't give a shit. They were happy to leave UEFA. But they didn't want to lose. They didn't want to come out of Premier League football. That's the reason they all took it back. They all gave their UEFA licenses away. Don't forget, they all cancelled their UEFA licenses and gave them back. You know, they weren't part of like them. The big 6 in England weren't part of UEFA for a couple of days. They actually gave their licenses back. The reason they stayed was because of the Premier League. They don't want to be kicked out of the Premier League. They wanted to play Premier League and Super League.
But
they didn't want to play.
But they didn't want to play Europe. The Premier League needs the Big 6 more than than the Big 6 needs the Premier League. They generate the highest revenues every year. So I don't know. Maybe someone didn't get the money they deserve. I think that's probably what it is. But honestly, guys, man, if they get relegated, would you guys care? Or do you guys care that if they get relegated or not?
I'd actually miss them, but.
You can go to the games, mate. There's plenty of spare seats.
You know why I'd miss them? I like competitive football. That's why I'd miss them. I like competitive football. I think if you look at the Scottish League got considerably worse when Rangers got knocked out of it for money and all that. The money will drop slightly if Man City go out of the league. But as a Liverpool fan, I'm like, fuck them, let them burn. You know, as a football fan who's thinking it like differently, I suppose transfer ban for 2 years, 2-year transfer embargo. They can't sell players, they can't buy players. They have to just have what they got for 2 years. A massive fine and a 15-point deduction at the beginning of the season. I think as a Liverpool fan, you're kind of pleased if they're not in the league because. Look, we're not sure what's going to happen with our ownership, but let's say, you know, because until we hear otherwise, it's FSG, isn't it? You know, and FSG run, as far as we're aware, a very sustainable model, you know, and I think that glass houses and all that, some clubs might be looking and thinking I might not pile on too much for Man City because I've got my own sort of things going on in the back of in the back office. But man, I think Liverpool are one of the sort of clubs in this league that actually are
seemingly pretty genuine with their, you know, how much money they generate and spend in the club, and not having to have these, you know, made up sponsors and things like that. So I think for a club like Liverpool, unless our ownership changes, it will benefit us, because
of course it will, yeah.
you know, in an ideal world, every club in this league would honor financial fair play truly and play by the rules and play fair, because if that was the case, I believe Liverpool would be the best out of all of them. Because if we're managing to compete with the teams that are cheating and managing to, you know, invest money through, you know, dodgy channels, if we're managing to compete with them, well, what's to happen when they're not around? Do you know what I mean? We're surely left with as being the best of the rest. So,
Yeah.
I mean, it depends now, because Chelsea coming in and their loophole they found in the investment and things like this. But I do just think, you know, surely it's got to be a good thing if the cheats aren't around. And look, if Liverpool get taken over, the whole circumstance changes again. But where we sit at this moment in time is based on a sustainable model. So I'd rather have everybody else doing a sustainable model, because, like I say, I think it would be the best.
So, Kev, when you just say, just a caveat off of what you just said, when you just say our owners have been probably the best owners in the
I was
Premier
going to come
League.
to this.
Sorry. No, I don't want to touch it.
No, you're right. You're right. Because I said this yesterday to the chat, and I said, if Man City, and this is what I've been thinking about this all day as well, right? If Man City get found guilty of this, if Man City get found guilty of this, and FSG have been playing by the rules all this time. Look, John W. Henry right now is he's got his feet up on his yacht right now, loving life, because no one's talking about FSG at the moment, and he's thinking he's like, I've been telling everyone this for years. John's sitting there going, I've been telling everyone this for years. No one listened. And now he's going to be like, people are going to start thinking, hang on. So if they don't get away with this, and they get done for it, and it's a serious thing they get done for, maybe it is relegation, they get everything stripped away from them, or it's like £1 billion fine or something like that. Do you look at FSG, maybe think, maybe they're better owners? It's because they're playing by the book. You know, there is rules in this financial world that you have to go with. You know, there is rules. You can bend rules and get away with it, but you know, like it don't matter how much money you got in life. Yeah, we always got to pay taxes. We all got to pay taxes. Yeah, it's just the way it is. You know, if you're worth 20 billion and someone else is worth a few grand, you know, financially, but you got to still pay taxes. Each person's got to pay taxes put back into the country. So the rich, though, find loopholes and manage to pay less tax than the working man does, right? But it's a loophole, and it's not classed as illegal as such, right? But City, with all their finances and financial thing, they will look at it and say, we're just trying to make our club better. We're trying to make our club the best club in the world by using all the financial means we can. But Premier League would go, yeah, that's all fine, but you've got to do it all by the book. And if it's not been done by the book, then it's illegal and you have to take the consequences. And FSG are going to be sitting there going, we've been telling you all this for years, you know, we've been telling you all this for years. So, in a way, are FSG better owners than Sheikh Mansour? It's a weird one to put out there.
With that as well, I think the fan base would probably be rating them a lot more, because if we're saying if these guys get found guilty, that means there's 3 more Premier Leagues and we would have won. So that means that would have been 4 for club under their reign or stewardship of FSG with the financial constraints that they've put on us.
Yeah.
That would have been massive. And now we're looking at them and saying they're not spending enough money, or they're not giving Klopp enough money to spend. But they're trying to do everything by the book, and they're trying to make sure we don't go into the same situation as a Man City and probably Chelsea eventually when someone starts looking at their club, because the amount of money they're spending. So sometimes we have to look at this now and go, do you know what? The owners have actually been great. And I know with recency stuff, they've not spent no money and stuff like this, but at the same time, they took us from a club, from the value where we were at, to a club now worth over 4 billion, and still kept us on the straight and narrow. And no one's investigating us for nothing stupid. So I think maybe some of the fan base have to kind of go, do you know what? They've actually been good. If you still want them to go, that's cool, no problem. But that means they would have had 4 Premier Leagues on the FSG. And would you guys be coming for
Yeah,
them
one
the
of
way
them,
you are
and
now?
one of them's Brendan Rodgers, or will you take the mick out of? So
Yeah, that is mad.
for the FSG under their ownership could have had 4 Premier League titles if Man City, obviously this is all
Yeah, if they
alleged,
get
if Man City did get guilty of this. Look, there's a reason I'm wearing this top today, because it's the Brendan Rodgers top that we should have won the Premier League in, and it's
Got Alex Sissoko on the back, Jay.
I got no. I'm a grown man. There's nothing on my back.
Flanagan.
Flanagan. Did you see Flanagan's tweet? Where's my Champions League? Where's my Premier League
so
medal?
did Lucas Leiva. He said, "Where's
Yeah,
my Premier
Lucas
League
did it,
medal?
and
Am I a
he
Premier League champion?" He said.
It is a mad way of thinking about it, Cav, isn't it? It is a crazy way of looking at it.
Ends put it really well. But when you think about it, for their time in charge, we would have three extra Premier Leagues, Champions League, Club World Cup. We won all the trophies, but we'd have 3 extra Premier Leagues. Whilst new training ground, expansion of Anfield, got the best manager in the world, some of the best players in the world, and the people say they've come to the end of the road. People say that the model they had was great; it got us to a point, but it can't get us any further. I do agree, but I also believe that people that can create a model that is able to compete in this market are also very intelligent and good at what they're doing. So I won't put it past them to be able to create a new model or expand on that model to then go and compete again. They're some of the best minds in football, whether you want to believe it or not. If not FSG, but the people they've employed below to run the club. So why couldn't they do it again? Well, the reason most people believe they couldn't do it again is because they couldn't financially compete with the likes of Man City. But if you're taking Man City out of the equation because you're saying what they're doing is effectively cheating, then what you're left with is a very, very smart, well-run club. Yeah. And people say they don't put in and they don't invest more. And look, I'm a Liverpool fan. I'd love for them to put their hands in their pockets and invest more. Yeah. But the truth is, there has been money there to spend. We effectively spent £100 million last year on strikers. That's not FSG's fault, and it's not the fault that we managed to generate that money, through proper means of that's true revenue. That's not made up money. That's not monopoly money. We've just lost people like Michael Edwards and the scouting department and things like that. That's where the failings are. So. Who's to say that Man City don't get relegated out of this league? That Newcastle owners, although they've not done it yet, they look at it and go, "We're not going to make the same mistakes, and we're going to actually go to a bit more of a sustainable model and steadily grow." Chelsea stop doing what they do. That loophole is going to be cut off. Where they give the long contracts and spread the costs. So they're going to have to go to a more.
They looked at that. They looked at what Chelsea did this year and went, "Ah, shit. We really should have sewn that loophole up like a year ago."
But all I'm saying, all these top clubs will probably, if they're doing these some of the dodgy dealings, or they were planning on it, they might stop because of what Man City's doing, and that's the precedence that will be set. So then, us as Liverpool, we're like, we're running sustainably anyway. We're making record figures, and revenue. And so if everybody else is doing the same, we're top of the pile. I mean, where were we on that? On that Deloitte list, we were third.
Third, yeah. Well, this is the thing. Anyone who tops Real Madrid in this list, I'm looking at weirdly in a way, because Real Madrid are. It don't matter what we all say, Liverpool fans. Real Madrid are the biggest team in world football. Yeah, they just are. Right, they're the most followed team in world football. You ask a non-football fan, ask about a team. They might say a couple of English teams because they know they're in their face all the time, but everyone knows Real Madrid, right? They're just the biggest team in the world. They should always be number one, unless you're having something exceptional happens. Now, on the pitch, obviously, Man City would have generated a lot of money: Premier League titles, FA Cup, League Cups. No European heritage, but they would have got a lot of money through that domestically. But as a fan base, they're nowhere near big enough to be top over Real Madrid, Barcelona, Liverpool, Man United, Bayern Munich. That straight away should send signals to everybody in world football like, oh, what the fuck? Now, if you're above Real Madrid, you're either doing something exceptional off the pitch and on the pitch for decades. or you're doing maybe what City are alleged to be said they're doing.
Yeah.
It's a mad one. But if you had an ownership, yeah, ends. If I told you the owners of your football club, yeah, in their time, their 13, 14 years of being owners of your football club, you've won 4 Premier League titles under them, 1 FA Cup, 2 League Cups, 1 Champions League, a Super Cup, and a World Club Championship, extended Anfield to 62,000, and you got a whole AXA training ground built, brand new in Kirby. What would you say about them owners?
Fantastic owners, mate. What else can you say about it? Fantastic owners, honestly. I think Cav's right. I think it's because we as fans have looked and seen Man City and Chelsea spend so much money and leapfrogged us in a way. We're now like, owners need to spend more money, I don't think we rant and raved about this over the gradual years. So like the last 5 years, I think maybe last year, now into this year, I think that's when we started really complaining as a fan base. But other than that, we've been like, okay, cool, we've got a great team. You know what I mean? Add 1 or 2 and then just carry on doing what we're doing. So I think if Man City and Chelsea weren't doing what they were doing, honestly, they'll be one of the, if not the best owners in world football in terms of the way they run the club.
Exactly.
Sorry, Ian. Sorry,
No,
she stole
it's
the
all
show.
right, man.
She stole the show for 2 seconds. Sorry about that.
No, it's
Just
all right.
came in
No,
saying that.
honestly,
I think that's and that's been a lot of fans' gripes. I'm look, I don't want to speak for the whole fan base, of course, but I think if you asked a lot of Liverpool fans and you said, what would you want out of FSG? Most of them would just say, we just want more money in the transfer market. But we're pleased with everything else that they're doing. And we like that how the club's being run and stuff. We just want more money to be able to spend on players. But then if I told you, well, they're spending what they can, but every other club is spending more because they're cheating, you'd realize, wouldn't you? And you'd understand. It should have always been the case that the clubs that are finding these loopholes and these ways of and means of cheating to put money into buying players, they should have been brought back in line with what the actual rules are, instead of us trying to match them. That's the way it should have worked. It's just that when we got the news about the investment last year, everybody was just a bit like, yeah, do you know what? We sort of gave in. We gave in to the fact of we don't need to play by the rules anymore, because all we care about as Liverpool fans is just winning. We just want to win, and almost by any means. So we were just like, yeah, we recognise they're not genuine, but we might as well match it if we want to stay relevant. But that's just that's the way we were thinking. But really, it's not the way we should have been thinking. How we should have been thinking is look, we just need these guys to be acting in the right and proper ways, and then we'll be right back up there again. They needed to come down to our level as opposed to us going up to theirs.
And look, I get what people were saying about AXA pay for the training ground. That is true, right? But not every owner pays for everything. It's very unlikely you get an owner that pays for everything. Look, Abramovich could never pay for a new ground for Chelsea. Never really updated the training ground much. It does come out of loans, even though how rich you are. At the end of the day, FSG were able to source AXA as a sponsor for our football club, and then got on board with them to pay for the new training ground. So they're still part of that, part of that process. The FA really didn't pay for new Wembley. We did. We did. You go to Wembley now, it's extortionate because we're still paying for it. We got to be we've got to be careful about people putting hand. I mean, I don't know who's building Real Madrid's new stadium. I doubt it's the owner or president or anything like that. It's probably coming out of, King of Spain, or whatever it is. So, yeah, we got to be careful about who pays for what and what pays for who, because the majority of people, even when you're mega rich and they want things done, they still source loans or sponsorship out. That's why the richest people in the world, by the way, have so many sponsorships for things, because they get the sponsors. So then the sponsors decide to build things for them, or put their names on buildings to give them more money and stuff like that, so they can get money back from it. So that FSG were part of the process of sourcing AXA out, so they were part of the process of building the training ground. Simple as that. But look, I've seen
in the chat, so some of the guys are saying that one of their big gripes is that we don't spend as much as other clubs like West Ham and Villa and these kinds of, and I totally agree. We should be.
Yeah, we should.
But
totally.
that's not the important thing. The important thing is that we finish above these teams and that we win trophies over these teams. I could not care less what other people are spending. I only care about that we make the right signings and have the right people in place for us to win. And in recent history up until this year, that has been the case.
To
Do
be
you know what I
fair,
mean?
Kev, to be fair, they have to spend that kind of money. We don't necessarily need to. So we have a good team. It's just that we need to replenish and refresh it. I think with like the West Hams, they spend a lot of money because they actually need to replace the team. We don't need to replace the team. We just need to add quality to what we currently have. Bit of fresh legs, younger bodies, and around the training ground. That's all
Yeah.
it is. So when we're seeing Leicester and West Ham, don't get disheartened when they're spending more than us. They need to spend that. Arsenal needed to spend what they needed to spend, and they're still. To be fair, we're having such a poor season. Arsenal look good, but they still need to add and spend even more money. So just to kind of show you where we are and where they are, the amount of money they have to spend just to get where we are, and we're only doing poor this year just because of circumstances. It might be injuries, might be we needed to buy a couple more men in the team. But Arsenal only has a first 11, and they've spent what over nearly 400 million this summer. From January last year into the summer. So don't look too deep into it, guys, man. We'll be good. We'll be good.
You have to pay to get back where you want to be, don't you?
Yeah.
So Arsenal have been. There's a reason Arsenal have been eighth, and fifth for the last 3 years, because they've been investing into players they need to get back into where they were. Liverpool invest into players to get back to where they are now. Well, before this season anyway. So they spent money. Yes, we spent it differently. Yes, we sold players to spend that money, and we do it differently to other clubs. But it's not that different. It's not actually that different, because you look at how much Chelsea have spent, right? And the wages they go on now. The rumor is if they don't make top four this season, the following season they could be going up against FFP because of the wage bill increase, right? So what Chelsea need to do, they will have a massive clear out in the summer. Chelsea will have a massive clear out in the summer. They will get rid of at least £100 million worth of talent, yeah, to make some money back, right? And what you got to remember is because of the contracts they put players on, them transfers they did are over the person's contract. So like an 8-year deal for some of these players. So the transfer is over an 8-year deal. So if they sell £100 million worth of money players in the summer, they've made shitloads of profit, which means they can go and buy more players in the summer. What Chelsea are doing is very clever. It's very clever, and they found a loophole apparently no one else has found by doing it that way.
But also, how would no one find that loophole?
I don't know.
They did it. They do it in the other leagues. It's just us in the Premier League never knew it, because it happens in the Spanish league quite a lot and the German league.
Yeah, that's all got an 8-year deal and stuff. Yeah.
Jamrock had a great point there, Jamie. I don't know if you want to bring it up.
Yeah, I'll get back. I'll just get Jamrock's thing out. How this could impact the City summer recruitment. We'll get to that, Jamrock. That is a good point. That one, is it?
No, there's one. It might be further up. He was just talking about what he would rather us do in terms of our recruitment, and obviously go back to the data analyst bit where we sign players instead of letting Jurgen Klopp.
Oh, okay.
647.
Yeah,
that one.
Which I thought was that's a great point. The other thing I wanted to ask you guys as well. So obviously now Man City are going to get caught up in what they are. You can answer this after, obviously, you touch on Jamrock's thing. But with us wanting to sell the club, and us as a fan base really want us to sell, with the new, say, buyers, would they now look at the Man City situation and go, I don't want no part of this now. I just want to chill. We might as well keep our money and go and do something else. Because if we come into the league and we want to spend our money, we might end up having an issue as well in the long term. But yeah, I'll let you touch on Jamrock.
No, this definitely could affect what you said there before I get a Jamrock thing. Well, this could affect. It could affect Liverpool and Man United. Look, Liverpool and Man United are both put up for sale by their football. Both have been put up for sale for the Glazers and Man United. Liverpool put up for sale for, well, apparently anyway, by FSG. We're going to get to that story in a minute because there's infighting now. But it could not. It could. It depends as well. You know, the Middle East owners could be looking at it and thinking, are the Premier League only going after Man City because they have Middle East owners? You know, is that a reason why they're going after them? Yeah, they could think like that. I know a lot of people are thinking like that. It's because I know a lot of City fans again. They're only picking on us because we've got Middle Eastern owners. You know, if we had, you know, white American owners, would anyone be looking at us? We spent
Yeah,
this
they
money.
would, because
You know, but you know what I'm
because
saying. This is the talk that's going on
financial doping.
in the
It's
football
fraud,
world.
what they're doing. Like,
Yeah.
it don't matter who's doing it; they committed the crime.
Oh yeah, I agree with you. But this is a talk that's going on in the world of football, ain't it?
I tell you why
might affect it a little bit.
these owners that are supposedly interested in buying Liverpool will still probably want to buy them, because the whole foundation is there for them to own Liverpool and Liverpool to be successful. Like, the whole infrastructure is in place. They'll probably have to invest a little bit in the squad, yes, but they'd have to do that anyway. They'd have to bring in their own model and their own people in, you know, as a director of football, and maybe have an impact on how they do their scouting and things like that. Any new owner they ain't going to buy a club and just be like, yeah, we'll just leave it as it is. They're going to have opinions and ways and means of doing things. So their whole thing is, a lot of these, you know, these state countries and stuff, or these, you know, people from the Middle East, they want to own Liverpool so they can say they own Liverpool. Do you know what I mean? And so they can, you know, brag about it, and then obviously all the sports watching and things like this. It doesn't necessarily matter, I don't think, that they can't push through money into by, you know, cheating effectively, because they don't need to. Man City, they had to do it because they had to build the club. And the quickest way of doing it was to pump money in, and they couldn't just pump money in. They had to find a way of doing it, and this is what they're being pulled up for now. With Liverpool, that's not the case. The club's built. The club's got years of heritage, you know, massive fan base, and a new stadium and expanded stadium and training ground and stuff like this. The core of the squad, people don't want to believe this, but it is still good. It needs investment, but it is still good. Like, they can come in and they can do that. So I don't think their interest will go because they feel like, oh shit, we were going to cheat and now we possibly can't.
It's a stereotyping, ain't it? That's what people are doing. They're looking at things and saying like all Arab owners are going to cheat because they're so wealthy and that. It's stereotyping and it's not fair.
It is, and people shouldn't do that.
No, but there's two ways.
You shouldn't do it all.
There's two ways you can look at it. So I get your point of view, Cav, as well. But at the same time, the expectation from us as fans, we want our team to be back to the top. The only way we're going to get back to the top is if we spend serious money to kind of rejig this team around. And that means, I'm not saying that we need to spend the money. The trouble is the market has now changed. So before, it used to be able to, okay, we can get this midfielder for like 50 million. Because we get the new owners in, and obviously, you know, Sky Sports News, everyone's going to be like, oh, they're worth this. Clubs are going to be looking at going, hold on, they're worth that. So you want our midfielder, he's now valued at this. So we're going to go from going for a 50 million midfielder, now it's 150 million. You guys can afford that because you're worth this, and we know you're going to spend this. And then the expectation from us as fans would be like, no, go and pay, you have the money.
Yeah.
So it won't just be they're going to come in with a mindset, oh, we're going to cheat. No, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying the owner's going to want to come in and state their own claim and put their marker down and go, you know what, with us in, we're going to do this. The other clubs with the players that we're going to now go for, they're going to be like, well, our players are now valued for around 50 million more than what they were. So it won't be just that easy to go and get them. And then we're going to be like, well, they can't come in and spend 100 million on this midfielder, 80 million on this midfielder, 70 million on this midfielder. And then financial fair play will be like, hold on a minute. Wait, you're spending 100 million, 70 on just on. So you have to look at it on both sides, man. So be careful what we wish for.
I would much rather, and it goes back to Jamrock's point, although he.
Oh,
Kev froze.
Kev froze. He's frozen time.
Am I back?
He's back. Yeah, you're back. You're frozen time.
I was just going to say, I get why people say you need a lot of money and you need to, you know, for us to get back to being the best, you know, team in England and Europe again. But that's not true. That's not true, is it? Like, you need to be smart. That's what you need to be. You need to be smart. You need to have a model, and you need to be strict and sticking to the model, and you need to get the right people in place. So it comes down to getting the right director of football in place and him having the same ideas and views and outlook as the scouting team below him. And the scouting team should be in the right areas of the world to pick up hot property talent. You know, the Netherlands has always produced, France will always produce, but Portugal of late have really produced some good players and things like that. So, South America, maybe we should look at going and scouting there a bit more and things like that. Making sure we've got the right scouts in place and then make sure our manager links into that in terms of using both the eye test and analytical data, and then just ultimately getting the right players in and playing them in the right positions in the right system. That's what gets you success. It don't matter how much they cost. Like, and I know people don't want to hear that, but like that is the truth. Like, yeah, the best players cost more money, of course they do. But we've seen examples. Brighton are a prime example. You can get quality players for cheap. You've just got to be smart, and you've got to have the whole setup in your model to be, to be a good one, effectively. So whilst I'm like, I'd like them to spend more money. Yeah, of course. Before that, I just want a structure in place that actually enables us to go out and work aligned. At the minute, we're making signings and we're spending the money because 40 million on Gakpo and 80 million on Nunes. At the minute, it's not aligned thinking because I don't see how them players are particularly working at the minute. It's early days, but without a Julian Ward leaving and the scouting department moving away from supposedly using analytical data and things like this, don't know what formation is best working for us now. It's all scrambled. I want to get all them things aligned again first, and then whatever we need to spend to do it, I hope the money's there and available. If it's not, at least we're being smart.
That's just all right. We're going to cheer Jamrock up now because we're going to talk about Liverpool. So there's a cheer Jamrock up a little bit. Big up to the chat as well. I hope everyone's doing well as well. Guys, we're only on 68 likes. There's 180 people in here. Please go and hit the like button. So smash that fun button underneath the video right now. Get it up to 100 likes, please. 100 likes right now, guys. So Liverpool are in deep crisis right now. I think we can all admit that. 10th in the Premier League, both domestic cups, lack of investment into the team in certain positions anyway. Because I can't say there's lack of investment when we almost spent 100 million this summer, but it's investment in the right areas of the team. Klopp looks like he's had enough. He's having a go about James Pearce, about an article that James never wrote. We've got fitness coach. Apparently, he's hard to get along with, but he's Klopp's right-hand man. You know, the geezer, he looks a bit like Jurgen himself, don't he? Kohlmeier, is it? I think his name. Apparently, he doesn't get on with some of the team. Apparently, him and Pep Linders are very hard to work with. Shock. Klopp looks like he's hard to work with at the moment. You got FSG, John W. Henry, apparently wants to not sell the football club, but Tom Werner does. So they're at disagreements at the moment. It's just shit from head to toe, but it's just a laughing stock at the moment. Just a laughing stock. But I want to talk about something that everyone keeps talking about, the players, yeah. The players. I've been reading the last couple of days. A lot of people have been saying it's a confidence issue with the players. It's a confidence issue. Once they get their confidence back, they'll be back. I've got a different look on it. I think these players that are available to Jurgen Klopp right now have just run out of pure energy and haven't got it no more to play Klopp style. It's as simple as that. I don't think any of these are bad players. I think some of these players could go to other clubs and be absolutely fine playing a different style, a different system. But the way Klopp plays, the intensity he trains with, it goes from the last 5 years. So apparently 5 years back, they all got together and had a massive meeting, didn't they? And it was Klopp, Pep, Kohlmeier, or whatever his name, I think it's his name.
Andreas Kohlmeier.
Yeah, the sporting director, the sports science guys. They all came together at this massive meeting, decided we're going to take these players somewhere they haven't been. We're going to go next 5 years. We're going to just go, and try and win everything, compete at the highest level possible. High intensity training matched with high intensity football games, so everything matches up. So the players are going to be at their peak fitness. And I think the science guys come back and said you could only do that for 4 to 5 years tops. And after that, these players are going to be done. It don't matter what you do, what you change. these players are just going to be done. Now, if you remember Sadio Mane, was it last year or 18 months back? He went and done tests because he didn't understand what was happening to his body. He paid for it privately. He went and did tests because he didn't understand what was happening to his body. And all the tests come back and said he's in perfect fitness. There's nothing wrong with him physically. But what it is, he can't do it. The intensity of playing the Klopp way through training and games have just unfortunately done these players in. So no matter how good they are as footballers, how much we love them, a lot of the players, the core players in this group that have played under Klopp for the last 4 or 5 years, are unfortunately now, it's like they've come to the end of their cycle playing under and training the way he wants to play. Because we haven't changed anything. We changed formation and all that, but the tactics and the gameplay is exactly the same. You know, we don't change anything up. We play exactly the same way against Wolves. High line, trying to be intense. Klopp talks about it all the time. Looking to press from the front, playing with high intensity, high pressure. But boys, they can't do it no more. The players can't do it no more. And for me, I think we just need a massive clear out. I just think we need a massive clear out, and Klopp needs to get players in that can play his way. And if you get players in that play Klopp's way, Klopp will be fine. But if you don't get players in that will play Klopp's way, there is then no point keeping Jurgen Klopp, in my opinion.
I think this is where you have to ask the question: is Klopp really a top manager? Because most top managers can adapt to situations and understand what you have in your squad. I don't think they're all done. I don't think that they're tired. I just think it's the fact that we keep running the same system. I think we've looked better when we've changed the formation and we've played with a bit of a younger squad. In terms of, you know, giving Harvey the position over Salah, maybe trying to get Carvalho in the 10 where we know he's good. But also the injuries hasn't helped us as well, guys. So it's easy looking at the team now and realizing that, well, we don't have any spark or any pace or whatever it may be, whatever way you want to look at it. But Jota makes a massive difference. So does Diaz when they're both fit and firing. They make a massive difference in terms of scoring goals, getting assists, being a problem, creating spaces around the pitch. So I don't think the players are done. I just feel the manager is just being a bit stubborn at the moment. And if we want to call him a world-class manager, he has to be able to adapt to what's going on at the club. What's going on at the club is we don't have enough money. Cool, fair enough. We still have some world-class players in the team. We still have some really, really good young players. Why not try and change the formation like what we did before the World Cup? And it was working because we beat Man City, beat West Ham, started having clean sheets, started playing and creating clear-cut chances. None of these hoofball over the top and then the player running through and then we're like, oh, I should have scored. No, 1-2, square across the box, guys were getting tap-ins. Come after the World Cup, this guy decided for some crazy reason, do you know what? I'm going to go warm weather training and go back to 4-3-3. And it's not worked at all. So I think it's more the manager than the players, to be fair, but I'll leave that to you guys.
Well, what I was saying about that, and you're right, partly what you're saying, and like the likes of like Fabinho. So a set came out about him the other day. You know, he's played like a 35-year-old or something. That's how old he feels, and like how his body is now because the amount of intensity in games he's played through training and game days. Your Hendersons, Salah, it's affecting Mo as well. It affected Mane. That's why he did the tests. That's why he wanted to leave. You know, it's affecting Bobby. You know, they're good players, like you say, Jens. They're still very good players, right? They could leave tomorrow and play for another setup in a different way, and you probably get the best out of them again. Yeah, they're not dead players. But the way Klopp wants to play at the moment, these players ain't capable of it because they haven't got the energy in their body anymore. They're just flat. Like when we go goals down now, I know we're not going to come back and win a game of football like we used to 2 years ago. Even last year, I'd be like, the players have got so much intensity left in their system. If we go a goal down, I'll trust them to go back and get it. They haven't got it no more. They haven't got that intensity. You don't see them run. We're outrun every game now in this Premier League season, and there's a reason behind that. It's because they just can't. They can't do it. So what Klopp's got to do, and I've been saying this since the other day I said this, what Klopp's got to do now is look at where we are in the league. Out of all the cups, we're not going to get relegated, but we're not going to finish in Europe. Start playing the kids. Start putting some of the young, not all of them, obviously. Start putting some of the really good youngsters we got in this team. Start putting them out there. Because are they going to be any worse right now? Are they going to be any worse right now? Matip looks like he's scared of a football. What's Nat Phillips got to do to play? Literally, what has Nat Phillips got to do to play?
Jay, I hate to break this to you, but you know Ben Doak's injured, right?
Oh, Doak's fine, but I mean that's injury. I mean that's no shock there.
So what youngsters we playing? Besides, is already in there.
Get some of them on. Get some of them on because start playing Carvalho more. Get Carvalho on the pitch a little bit more. Get some of these players
Call
on.
up
Get Ramsey,
man.
Did you see Muliaski's goal the other day? By the way, Jesus Christ,
he's been performing really well.
He is a talent. Get him in the squad. If Ramsey's fit,
play Curtis.
If Ramsey's fit, play Curtis Jones. I'm not even joking here.
Ramsey's been playing well.
If
I thought
Ramsey's
he was injured,
fit,
but he's actually been playing 21 games.
If Ramsey's fit and Curtis Jones is fit, get him in the team because their legs ain't gone. Right? What I'm saying by this, because they've not been physically exhausted by the Klopp style of football for the last 5 years with training and match days and that intensity it brings. Yeah, these guys they've not suffered from that yet. That's why Luis Diaz looks so good for us when he plays. And Jota looks so good for us where they play because they haven't gone through them 4 or 5 years of that exhaustion. They're fresh, they're vibrant, they're exciting to watch at the moment. And then Harvey Elliott is outshining a lot of outfield players right now, more experienced than him and better than him because he's just full of energy and he's giving as best as he can at the moment. So it's standing out. No, Trent looks a lot older than his age at this moment in time. And Konate, that's why Konate looks decent because he hasn't gone through it. Alisson, because he's a goalkeeper, it's all right for him. But yeah, a lot of these players are just so exhausted they can't play. But if Klopp just changed it, like we played against Man City at Anfield when we played that really defensive game, nice and compact, and Fabinho weren't isolated, so he looked a better player for it. And we played counter-attacking football, and we just told Salah and Jota, I think he started that game, just to stay in the halfway line and cheat. It suited them to a T.
Mm.
But I don't know how you feel, Kev. That's just how I've been looking at it lately.
Yeah, I think it's fair. I think a lot of fans probably think the same as you. Like we've seen so many poor performances from these players this season that we're at a point where it's like, why not? Let's just throw a wild card out there and play some of the youngsters. Like you say, at least they seemingly have more fitness and more sort of energy and stuff to cover the park. There will be failings in other respects, tactical awareness and things like this. But yeah, it's worth a try maybe. Everyone's going to probably hate me for saying this, but I need to see when we're questioning Klopp right now, right? I don't think he's doing well with what he's got. Actually, he's doing terribly. He's doing the worst he possibly could do. Let's go that far, right? Mm-hmm. But we've got to think about how would he be doing? How would we assess him if we didn't have the injuries? And I know that's a big if, right? Because you always get injuries. You always do. But let's say we had Diaz and Jota all this season. Where do we think we would be? And we do have to take it into account. I know Virgil wasn't great this season, but imagine we did have Virgil, Jota and Diaz. I don't think we would be we'd be disappointed in the season and we'd be frustrated we're not competing for the league. And we'd probably be frustrated that we're just outside the top 4 or whatever. But I don't think we'd literally be calling for Klopp to go. I don't think we will. I think we'll be sat here going, we kind of seen shades of this last season. We probably need to invest again in the summer. The trouble we've got at the moment is a lot of key components are out injured, like the 2 main centre-backs and arguably the 2 main forwards are out, right? That's putting a lot of strain on the rest of the team. And Klopp isn't very good at finding short-term solutions. He's not very good at assessing what he has for a match day coming up with all the injuries and tweaking things, changing a formation and a way of playing to get results. That's not him. That's not what he does. What he does is build a team over time and gets them to a peak. And part of doing that is getting the right players in and keep them there together for so long, whereby they learn the pattern of play, but it's not just learning it. It's like second nature to play these to make these runs and to play these passes and things like that. So now we've got players in this team that don't know that because they're either new to the team or they're stepping in for the injured players. They don't know the patterns. They don't know the runs. There's no chemistry. The players quite often look like strangers on this pitch. So you either make a decision now as a fan, you think, do I want a manager in, an alternative, Klopp to go and someone to come in and work with the tools he has now to get results now, because I think there's managers out there that can do that. But you've got to think about when the players come back and after the summer, which hopefully we will sign some players, who would you want at the helm to get us back to being at the top? And that's where I stand on still being Klopp in. I'm like, well, given the tools, I want it to be Klopp, because I don't see any manager out there, being capable under the, model that FSG employ to get us back to winning Champions League and Premier League. So that's why I'm sticking with him at this point in time. But like I say, that doesn't let him off for being so terrible, with trying to winning these games, and deploying the same tactics. It's a difficult one. It's a difficult one because if you start making wholesale changes, you might really lose that long-term goal, if you like. So if you put in loads of youngsters or you get rid of so many players, you've then got to reteach all the patterns that you've worked on for so long that got you to that level. So it's difficult.
But at the same time, though, Cav, this should be something that should have gone through the whole spine of the club. The way that we play, it should have just been from the first team to the under-21s to the under-18s all the way down to the academy. That's what most of the top clubs, when they have a philosophy, they do. They push that down. So when a player comes out of the youth team and goes in the first team, he already understands. I think we were doing that about 3 to 4 years ago, and I don't know when that's changed. Because I remember when the youngsters used to come in, it was seamless. They used to just go into the midfield or go in the attacking lineup, and they just knew exactly where to be because they were playing it at a younger age group. But then all of a sudden now it's just like we're playing one game and everyone else in the club is playing a different game. Yeah. Doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah,
that's just weird. And just to touch on the Gakpo and Nunes thing, I saw a couple of men said didn't make sense. At the time, it made sense because we sold to buy Nunes. We sold a lot of our strikers. Obviously, we got rid of the attacking player, so we needed a striker. The Gakpo one only came in because of Diaz's injury, and we already had 11 midfielders on the books. So I think that they looked at and gone, do you know what? We need someone that can offer us a bit of pace, power on the wing, and we already got 11 midfielders. We just have to wait till the summer and see how it goes. So it did make sense at the time, but I get why people would be upset with when we signed them because obviously they're not performing at the moment.
I mean, Nunes at the time, and I believe still is, I think he will come good. He is actually a Liverpool style forward. When you think about it, pacey, presses loads, and he was a good goal scorer, believe it or not, like that. He was. Like the attributes that he has, actually, it makes sense as to why we signed him. It's the just that it's not been a seamless transition, as in Mane out, Nunes in. There's just been so much else going on that we can't evaluate Nunes as an overall player at this point in time because he's not the only change. Everything else around him's falling apart and not been as good. So how can you assess him? It's not comparing apples for apples, unfortunately. And the Gakpo one.
The Gakpo one's weird, ain't it? It's I feel for Gakpo. This is nothing on him, by the way. He's coming to a team that is in terrible form, and he plays everywhere but left wing, where he naturally plays. So he's come in and Klopp's gone, right, you're my number 9, and you go to play like Bobby, and you go to be the connector between midfield and attack because we're not pressing them from the front like we used to, and I think you can help us do that. And he's like, okay, so he's learning a new role within, and he's only been here since the 1st of January. So I can't go at Gakpo and go, oh, that's why he's terrible.
I don't think it's weird. So the reason why he had to play up front was because of Nunes' injuries. That's the only reason why he started up front.
Yeah.
So, and then the other reason why we pushed forward to sign him because obviously Diaz got injured. Or else we would not have signed him until the summer because we were interested in him.
Then we got 6 forwards, which makes no sense.
That's fine. No,
because I can guarantee you next season we don't have 6 forwards.
Nah, but
guarantee you next.
it makes sense, Jamie. If we want to, as a club, we want to push for every trophy possible.
So then why did
Unless
Klopp
you guys
say-
just want Premier League and Champions League. If that's what you want, then cool, get rid of one of them. But if I'm a person
I
that wants
understand
to
it.
challenge, I'm a person that wants to challenge in all front. I don't care what trophy it is. I want the best team out there or a good enough squad to compete. What I don't like is if all of a sudden we're playing in the Carabao Cup and then I'm just seeing guys that and we're playing against City, but I'm seeing under 18s players or under 21s players. But Man City are playing their first team, or Arsenal are playing their first team, or Chelsea are playing their first team.
But Nunes played on the left the other day as well.
Yeah, because he had that because Nunes is back fit, so Nunes obviously
Nunes,
stays in the middle.
No, Nunes played on the left against Wolves.
Yeah, but he came on.
Nah, he was down the middle, Jay.
No. No, the reason he was down the middle, and I keep telling everyone this, right? The reason it looked like Darwin was down the middle is because Gakpo is doing the Bobby role of coming deep. So what happens is when the number 9, the false 9 comes deep, the 2 wide players become centre forwards, right? And they come wide centre forwards like Mane and Salah used to do. You know, the starting positions would be there on paper, yeah? But Gakpo was in the middle of the pitch the whole match, always coming deep. And that allowed Darwin.
Was out on the left.
No, he weren't, honestly. Darwin was out on the left. And then it allowed them to come in centrally as wide forwards, guys.
I think it was more of a rotate. I think they rotated quite a lot, but no, he definitely played on the left because I saw.
All I know is I seen Gakpo pick up the ball on the left and just pass it back to the goalkeeper with some aimless crosses. So I at least know he was on the left at some moments because I was pulling my hair out.
I don't diss the crosses, man. The crosses, there's ideas behind it.
But just going back to Gakpo, right? This is where I think we're failing at the minute is the continuity from the top down. Obviously, Julian Ward's moving on and Edwards isn't here anymore and stuff. And it looks like there's the real disconnect between the players that we're signing and what our tactics seemingly are and how Klopp wants to play. I get that Gakpo was a sort of opportunist signing because he was on the radar. We liked him as a player. He became available. We had a Diaz injury. It made sense to sign him. But I think it was wrong to sign a player that you think can come good next season and add to the depth of the squad when the immediate thing you should have been doing is signing somebody to help now. And if that means you have to miss out on Gakpo, then so be it. That's what Liverpool have been good at for so long, is when we got to January, we actually had a load of most of our midfielders back by Arfavelo. So we had bodies, right? And we did need a forward. But I think that you maybe look at Gakpo and go, okay, he'll be good next season. But unfortunately, we've still got 4 or 5 months left to play. We're still in 3 competitions at this point in time. So we need to get somebody else in that can fit a bit more into the squad seamlessly. And if that means that you fill a spot and there's not a spot for him in the summer, then so be it. That's what Liverpool have been good at for so long, is they're willing to lose people.
Cav, at the same time, don't we moan at them for not... Because like if we miss out on the target, we wait till the summer. We moan at them for doing that all the time. If we miss out on, say, we missed out on Tchouaméni, and now we said, no, we ain't signing no one. We're going to wait all the way till the next summer to go and get Jude. They identified a player they really wanted in the summer and thought, do you know what? We actually want to get him now and don't want to risk losing him in the summer.
I know. But I just think, and sometimes if you make decisions that for the long term, you'll never get to the long term. You won't get there because you need to deal with things here and now. And I get that Gakpo was a long-term target. I think he's come out and said that he was talking to both Liverpool and United in the summer. So it's clear that we wanted him at least back then. And look, we probably wanted to we brought it forward in January because of the injuries. But I just think it's probably the right player, but the wrong time. And I'd have just rather Liverpool had gone out and got somebody for now. And then maybe if they could get Gakpo in the summer, great. If they can't, move on. You go on, Jay.
No, go on, Cav. Go on, man. Oh, sorry,
that's all I was going to say. And to be honest, I think it's really cruel on Gakpo because he's coming into a team and we're expecting him to save the day every game, and he can't do that. So when we do our player ratings and this and that, I just sit there thinking he makes no impact. And to be fair, unless he's like a Luis Diaz, whereby he plays so off the cuff and just grabs the game by the scruff of the neck and scores goals and makes things happen on his raw ability, he's not going to do that because he's a player that will actually come good when the team's playing well and he's got chemistry with people around him and he knows people's runs and movements and people create space for him as well. But we're not there. We're not
I
there.
agree.
That he's the right player at the wrong time. We should have got him. If we'd had a good season and got to January and we didn't have all the injuries, I'm like, yeah, cool. If at least Diaz or Jota was here, I'd be like, and available. I'd be like, yeah, I get why you'd get him to add to the depth. But knowing he was coming into the team straight away, I didn't think it's not a good foundation for him to go and succeed. He might come good next season, but we're going to suffer for the short term.
Well, this is my thing next season, yeah? So as I keep saying, we go into the summer next season, we start the Premier League season, transfer window shut, we got 6 forwards. You can't have all 3 forwards on the bench because you need midfielders, defenders, goalkeepers and stuff like that. So one will always not, one of these 6 will sometimes not be in the match day squad. So there's talk coming out of the Netherlands right now that the people in charge of Cody Gakpo in the Netherlands always thought he would be a midfielder eventually, right? That he'd be a midfielder eventually. I know a lot of people were talking about this on Sky the other day about Cody Gakpo. Do you guys think you see Liverpool using him as a midfielder? Because I'm looking at it, when everyone's fit, where does Gakpo play?
You don't work hard enough, Jay. I'll tell you now.
Because I don't see him ever playing on the left. Because if everyone's fit, if we got everyone available to pick from, I think he goes Diaz and Jota on the left before he even thinks about Gakpo. And then through the number 9, you've got Bobby and Darwin. And then on the right, you've only got Mo, obviously. So I'm looking at it and thinking, where does Gakpo actually fit next season? And do they just think that he's going to be that sort of attacking midfielder? Like we are going to change it. We don't know. Maybe Klopp's looking at it and thinking we're going to change up the 4-2-3-1 next season, and Gakpo becomes that number 10.
Firstly, whoever them people in Netherlands, they need to slap themselves. The kid, I've watched this kid from a young age, and he's played on the left or as a striker. When he was about 15, he kind of dabbled with the forward, but he played out on the left throughout his whole academy career into PSG.
It's his coaches at PSV.
That's crazy, because then why did they never play him in that position? That's just crazy.
Because they don't think he's old enough. He's not old enough yet. They think because of the attributes he's got. They think he can be that sort of attacking midfielder that can play in that position.
I think that's just people talking nonsense, honestly. Because
I think he will be personally. I think he will be a midfielder for Liverpool next season.
Have you seen this guy track back?
Yeah. I think he's actually better as a midfielder than he is a forward. And I ain't lying about this. I've watched him in the last 2 games. In the last 2 games, I personally think he's been one of our better players, right? And I just don't see him as a forward for Liverpool next season. I really don't, because if Diaz and Jota are fit next season, for me, they're Klopp's 2 first choices to be left wingers. Yeah, Jota can also play centrally. He will then look at Darwin and Bobby as his 2 main number 9s, and then Salah on the right. I just don't know. Where Gakpo fits.
Why not drop Salah and play Gakpo on the right?
He ain't going to drop Salah. The other thing is, I don't think Salah's going to be here next season. I think he's getting sold in the summer. So maybe he does play Gakpo right. Maybe you're right.
Honestly, Jamie, obviously that's your own preference. Having Jurgen Klopp as a manager, who knows, he might end up being there as well, because he's done some crazier things. But honestly, mate, the guy's played left wing majority of his career, if not 99% of his career. And then now we're saying that he can go and play in the midfield. That's just madness to me.
I agree. I agree with all you.
If he's got legs behind him, and he doesn't have to do so much defensive work, then I think a number 10 position, I can see
second striker. Cool.
I can see how he could work in that spot. Yeah.
Number 10.
As a 10, because
sorry, Kev, I think people think I'm thinking of being a number 6 or a number 8. By the way, guys, I'm not thinking that. And I don't think he should be a midfielder either, guys. I'm just going to let everyone in the chat right now. I'm just going on with talk I've heard from people in the Netherlands saying that coaches of him at PSV talking about he may be able to play midfield one day in the future. And I think there's been talk about it on Sky and BT with pundits and all that. I think he should play in the forward area. If he's going to play anywhere, I can see him playing the number 10 position, which is also class in the midfield. So
Yeah, I get why you see that because he's got a good
Yeah.
first touch. He's a bit silky with it as well. He can do like some neat touches and to get out of situations and stuff. He's a tall fella. He's not the best in the air, but he's a tall fella. He's not the he's pretty okay. He's a little bit strong depending on what ball's played into him, who he was up against. But he's got good vision and he's a willingness to shoot. And I think a number 10 position, that you could get the best out of him in that, especially if you've got runners in Diaz and Salah and Nunes ahead of him. If they're making, smart runs across the pitch, taking midfielders away, pulling people left, right, and centre, opening up space for each other and stuff, he could be a really intelligent footballer that exploits that space in and around the 18-yard box. But I think he doesn't do enough defensively, like I say.
Weren't Genie a left winger?
No, he was a centre midfielder, man. What's going on, guys?
No. Genie Wijnaldum was never a centre midfielder.
Kane Rowe Genie, when he was at PSV, did play off there, but he was a centre midfielder throughout the academy.
At Newcastle,
these are players I watch religiously.
Yeah, but at Newcastle, he either played left wing or the number 10
because the manager is crazy as well.
No. But at Newcastle, the reason we bought him at Newcastle. He was scoring bags of goals for Newcastle
because he played in an attacking role,
and because he's an attacking midfielder.
Genie's a horrible. Genie throws your whole argument out.
Listen, go and play Allison at right back.
When he's a midfielder next season, please no one come to me.
Allison was a striker before he was a goalkeeper.
I'm telling you. He will play midfield for Liverpool.
And what you actually disagree with? I've not worked it out.
No, because the man said, Jamie's right because who thought Genie was an 8. I'm like, well, what football was you watching?
He's never played 8 till he went to Liverpool.
He played 10. Didn't he play 10 for Holland?
He played 10. He played 10 and left wing. He never played number 8 till he came to Liverpool.
He was their main goal scorer as well for Holland at the time. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. The Genie example is terrible because this guy could play anywhere.
Listen, Allison was a striker before he was a goalkeeper, so let's go and play him up front because Nunes ain't scoring.
And by the way, you can play central. What people have got to remember as well, you can play central midfield and do a role completely differently. So, Bernardo Silva was always a winger and now plays central midfield for Man City. You can play central midfield differently to other central midfield areas. So. You can be an attacking central midfielder. You can be a defensive-minded central midfielder. But we made Genie more of a defensive-minded central midfielder. That's what people don't understand.
Knightley was saying on my Dutch. No, I'm not Dutch. I just pay attention to football outside the Premier League. That's all.
But that's all it is. Like Genie might have played number 8 for PSV, but for Holland he plays 10. For Newcastle he played 10 and left wing. And for Liverpool, he played a defensive 6. So it's like he changed everywhere. He literally changed everywhere. He was very versatile and could play in all them.
Do you think we got the best out of Genie though? Because I think obviously we'd say as a unit, as a system, yeah. But in terms of the player he is, do you think we did him a disservice because he was actually a mad goal scorer and we turned him?
Hang on.
I'm asking.
I just need to know what I've actually said that's wrong because everything I said is factual. So I need to know what I said is wrong because everything I said is actually factual. People just go and look. People just need to go and look. What I've said is factual. Gakpo can play the 10 position. He can play it. And when I talk about midfield, that's where I was talking about, guys. The 10 position, not next to Fabinho or Hendo in the central midfield area.
I think when he said it. What we're doing we don't play in 10 though. That's why. Sorry. Kev.
I think Klopp's changing tactics next season. I'd
love Klopp to go 4-2-3-1. I much prefer to have 4 forwards, right? But what we're actually doing here is we can't see him getting in ahead of Diaz and maybe Jota on the left, right? So we're thinking, okay, where can he go into the team? And a 10 makes sense with his attributes, right? But then you've also got Jota who might play as the 10 and Firmino and Carvalho and Jones and Elliott. It's like, are we not just shoehorning him into a spot to try and get him in this team? Like, I think, and look, there's probably never be a day Liverpool have a clean bill of health, right? But if everybody's fit, and he goes 4-2-3-1, for me personally, I'd go Diaz off the left, Nunes up front, Jota in behind, Salah on the right. Gakpo still isn't in that team for me.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. What do we do with the geezer? I don't know why we bought him. I feel sorry for Gakpo. I feel sorry for Gakpo more than any player because
would you
it ain't his
rather
fault.
would you rather then, Jamie, if you're saying we didn't have him, would you rather just have Ox play off the left than if Diaz had to come
Well,
off?
I'll tell you this right now.
Yeah.
Who's been better playing for Liverpool so far this season, Ox or Gakpo?
Yeah, but you can't use that because
No. I'm just using it this season.
He just arrived, man.
No, that's what I'm saying though. Ox playing on the left wing. So Liverpool have looked at it and thought, right, we need somebody to come in because Luis Diaz is injured, yeah? Right?
Mm-hmm.
That's what they got him for first, yeah? But when they were using Ox on the left wing, was Ox any worse than getting Gakpo in? And in Gakpo playing now? That's what I'm saying. If you look at it with that sort of view of it. I would say Ox has done a little bit better than Gakpo personally playing left wing.
This is the point I was trying to make earlier, right? If we're all in agreement, Ox probably doesn't get in the starting 11, like when everyone's fit, right? But he is a good bench player, right? And comes in for the odd games. What we're saying is the whole team needs to be fit and firing for him to actually be effective. Is that what we're saying? So if we're saying a match day comes around and we're going to just pull Diaz off the left and drop Gakpo in, we're really reliant on everybody else still playing well, aren't we?
I just think if we change the system and actually play with a more creative midfielder, you would get the best out of him. I just think at the moment we don't have anyone that's going to even think about creating an opportunity, much less do it.
Yeah,
that's
and
why
this is my concern. Ends. This is my concern with him is I'd like him as a player, and I really hope he comes good. And I get he's a good bench player, but I want to sign someone that's like we're going. Nah, he's in the first team because he's so good. Like I don't want to sign someone with just accepting they're a good squad option, and then they might play well, but you need everybody else around him to be playing well. Well, you should be.
He is 23 though, Cav, at the same time. Obviously, the mold of player you're looking at is probably a 26, 27, where they can come into the team and have the experience. Yeah. At the moment, he's 23, bro, and he's come from the Dutch league. Don't have really a lot of experience in terms of compared to...
This goes back to my point, though. He might come aboard, but I don't understand why in January, when we've had real, areas to strengthen in this squad, that we decided to do him at this time. Like, that's the bit I don't understand.
We always moan about not signing these players, Cav, when we need to. Yeah. That's why. Sorry, Jamie.
But that was when we needed depth and we needed we don't need depth anymore. Well, we do, but the priority is the starting 11.
Yeah.
I'm not depth was last summer and the summer before. That's not. I don't want depth now. I want some players in the starting 11. That's.
What people have got to remember, big up Mitchell brothers. What people have got to remember as well. I'm the host of this show. Yeah, I've got to ask weird questions and start debates. I do not want Gakpo in the midfield. Let me tell everyone right now. I want him in the forward areas. It's the whole point is to start debates. You've got to start debates. Plus, look, let's not lie about it. We know our manager, right? So if ends, would you be shocked next season if you actually saw Gakpo in the midfield?
I am no longer shocked with anything to do with Jurgen Klopp, bro. He does some crazy stuff. I can't believe we figured out a formation that works for us. 2, and then he changed it back to one that don't.
I think someone's going to play right wing next season. I don't know if Mo's going to be here. If FSG are still in charge, if FSG are still in charge of Liverpool, I think they look at Mo as an asset to let go. Because we've got they're giving Bobby a new contract, yeah. That looks like he's going to get a 2.5-year deal, right? He only can play. Bobby can only play in the number 9, that false 9 position or 10. Yeah, he can only play centrally. You got Jota, who I think we miss badly. Luis Diaz, who we miss badly. They're the future, going forward. Diaz is your Jotas, your Darwin Núñez's, and your Gakpo's. You got Bobby there as experienced. I just don't know if Mo's going to be there next season. If Mo ain't there, does Diaz play on the right? Do you play Diaz on the right and they look at Gakpo as the left-hand sided winger? Klopp's like, right, fuck it. No, Gakpo's going to be my left winger from next season. I'm going to transition Luis Diaz over to the right because he's played there a couple of times for us.
Well, that's an interesting point, actually, Diaz.
And then Darwin Núñez as his main number 9 going forward. Because we remember the link up between Diaz and Darwin Núñez was quite nice. And I believe, did he assist him twice when Diaz came off the right-hand side as well, with crosses into the box? I think one of them was against
I can
Arsenal.
only recall the Arsenal game. Really.
Yeah, he came off the right, didn't he? So maybe
Well, he was on the left, but he drifted.
Yeah,
over,
he went over.
Yeah.
So maybe that's where his mind's thinking. Maybe that's going to be his new front three going forward. Then you got Jota and Bobby on the bench, because you know I just look at Mo, guys. I don't know about you. He just don't look. He doesn't look interested right now, does he?
And you know what? If Diaz goes on the right, you're actually going kind of back to where we were when we had Mane on the right before Salah come in. And then also Diaz is such a hard worker that might benefit Trent. You know, if those two can work on a relationship where they interchange their positions and, you know, hold the ball, overlap, link up on the right hand side, well, you know, that could be a fantastic partnership. But at the very least, Diaz will track back and help, you know, cover areas on that right side of the pitch. So that might be a benefit defensively as well. But I think this only happens if Salah isn't here, as you say.
Yeah, only if Salah isn't here.
Yeah.
I'm just wondering if, because you're all right. Like, why did we get? There must be a plan going forward. Because Klopp said it himself in a press conference a couple of weeks ago. He said you can't buy players just because you got a player injured. Because what happens when them players come back from injury? He said it himself. And then we're told Gakpo was brought in now because Luis Diaz's injury. We're like, so what? I mean, I would love a proper full strength forward line, right? We had it last season with a full strength forward line, and then we had like Origi and Taki Minamino on the bench that helped out in little bits here and there. And we had that Mane, Salah, Bobby, and Luis Diaz and Jota, and we was all hype about it. It's like we got what a squad for the top half of the pitch, you know. And look at that next season. Then we're told Mane's getting sold, Minamino got sold, and Origi left. So are we looking at thinking, shit, we're going to have 6 next season, or are we? Are we going to have 5 because one of them go?
I don't know. I think the only one that goes is possibly Salah. And maybe it's because he's not playing well that we're having this conversation, really, isn't it? Because if he's playing well, we'd all be sitting there going, he signed a new deal. It's probably his final big contract before he retires or goes somewhere a bit easier on an easier league, and he'll be fine. But because he's not playing well, I think we all start to question, actually, do we still need this guy? And should we make a change on that right wing position? Should someone else be able to go in there based on merit? And also, if we're going to freshen up this squad, we need to generate funds from somewhere. And Salah's obviously one of the bigger assets. So this is why we're having this conversation. But it's difficult because, again, like I said earlier, I need to, as I said with Klopp, I need to see how he performs with this squad being fit. And the same goes with Salah. I need to see how he performs when Diaz is there and Jota is there, because there's nothing to say that he won't just come alive again and go back to the Salah of old, where he's getting more and more chances and he's getting, you know, he starts taking some of them and he builds confidence and goes again. But
I don't. You know, I think that Salah's gone. I honestly, I think Salah, like I said earlier, he's got that same thing Mane had, that where Mane can't explain what happened to him and he went in for tests and all that. I think Mo's got the same thing. Look, Mo's not as explosive as he once was a few years ago. He's not as athletic he was a few years ago. And that was a massive part of his game, wasn't it? That was a huge.
And that's where I'm torn at the minute, because I'm also like, I want to see how he performs in a first 11. But at the same time, do you really want players that can only perform when they're in a first 11 side? Surely you want players that actually make the difference. You know, that go out there like Diaz. You can play him in the under 21s. You can play with the kids in the cup. You can play him in Premier League, Champions League. You know he makes an impact. And I'm a little bit like, do we need more of that? Do we need more of that? Whereby Salah's a system player, and we built it a lot to suit him. But do we just need people that aren't so much system players and just so good raw ability and off the cuff?
Most of these players were, though, Cav. The difference is they've had time on the clock. So that's why Salah wasn't a system player. Mane wasn't a system player. These guys were going on the pitch and lighting the place up. Yeah, but what happened is they moved to Liverpool and had to play in a system, and they were only allowed to do certain things. So Diaz is fresh. He's only been here, well, call it a year now. He's still fresh, and he's been injured for quite a lot of it, to be fair. He's been injured for the last 4 months now, whatever that might be. So we're still seeing that fresh rawness. So when he goes on the pitch, he will light up. Give him a couple of years, bro. You be saying the same thing about it.
I think it now ends.
Player.
I think at the start of this season, I think that Diaz, I think Klopp had time to get into him. And instead of him just playing off the cuff, Klopp got into him and said, I need you to make these runs. I need you to be in this position when we're on the ball in these areas and this and that. And I actually think that took away from his game.
Yeah,
I think when you think back to the best moments of Diaz, it's actually when we're a goal down. And he just thinks, screw it, I'm just going to get the ball and try and do something myself.
Well, he plays it out of the system, don't he, when that happens? Because he's locked down to a way he has to play. And then when we go goal down, he's like, no, fuck the system. I'm just going to do what I want to do. And it helps us. Mo used to be able to do that. The fact is that Mo, unfortunately, like big up Arj in the chat is saying about like my name's a mental thing and he looks good for his country, new club and country. It's because he's got away with the intensity that's been played at Liverpool and the training and the constant effort. What else it is, guys? Don't forget the effort this team has put in the last few years chasing this Man City side, right? That is exhausting. That is exhausting. And like Salah plays every one of them games for the last 4 years, hardly ever dropped. So he's just come to, like, Mo ain't a shit player now. He's not down tools or anything. I legitimately just don't think he can do what he did 2 years ago. You know, he relied on that bit of pace, that explosion off the block. How many times do you see now Mo trying to run in behind a fullback or running in behind a defender? He likes to come towards the ball now, don't he? With back to goal more, you know, and he's adapting. Mo's adapting his game as well because he knows he's lost little bits of what he had a few years ago, and he's adapting because he's a quality footballer. So he's adapting his game. But unfortunately, I just don't know if that benefits Liverpool Football Club right now. And that's what I think, guys. Liverpool need, I've been saying it for a while, this summer, for me, if Klopp stays and FSG stays, is the most important summer since Jurgen Klopp's been at Liverpool. I'm going to get to it 1 second. I'm just going to read out Ash's super chat. Big up, Ash. Thank you very much, mate. Gakpo is a 37 million, 23-year-old. I really don't think Gakpo is an issue. It's just being magnified because of the injuries. Yeah, I agree with that. I don't think Gakpo is an issue full stop. I think Gakpo is a solid player. It's just that he's in a team that don't suit him at the moment. As simple as that.
Well said, Ash.
But, yeah, Gakpo will come good, man. He will come good. He just needs... Look, if it was like when we bought Luis Diaz, Liverpool were flying. If Liverpool were flying, Gakpo would come in, he'd be flying as well. He just can't do it because the team's shit. The team's just shit at the moment.
For his sake, we better hope we don't get injuries, eh?
Yeah, exactly. But going forward, guys.
And still like that thing.
So going forward, this summer, as I said, I think it's going to be a big one for Liverpool. And as I said, there's the players in this team that you've got to look at and thinking, have they come to the end of their... You know, if Klopp's not going to change his tactics and formation the way he wants to play and train, and he's keeping the same people around that are like Kumar and all that, and Pep Linders and all that as part of his coaching staff and his medical staff and his fitness staff, then a lot of these players probably need to be moved on. So Fabinho, let's look at Fabinho. You could argue that Klopp has hung out Fabinho to dry a little bit. He's made it obvious that he sees Fabinho as an issue at this football club right now. He spoke about, Klopp don't really speak about players much, and he sort of mentioned him in a press conference. You don't really hear Klopp doing that a lot. And he was out of the squad entirely against Wolves. You see him screaming on the touchline to Fabinho a lot. Do you think, Cav, Fabinho, this is Fabinho's last season at Liverpool?
I think it will be.
And should it be as well?
I think it will be, yeah. And it's took me a while to come around to this idea that he's not good enough for Liverpool anymore. A lot of people seen it last season. And I did, but I kind of hoped he would get through. And yeah, just the decline has been mad. I don't think he's as bad as he's playing at the moment. I think his level is actually above what we're seeing. But I just think at this club, with the way that our manager will want to play and the intensity of it all, I just don't think it's going to suit him anymore. I think he'd be better off going to a different league and maybe a club that's a bit more, got probably more energy in midfield and sits back and plays a bit more pragmatic or what have you. Maybe a position change. Maybe he goes to right back somewhere or centre back somewhere or something else. But I don't think he's done as a player. I just think his time at Liverpool is probably up. And you're dead right. There's been like signs from Klopp that show you he's not happy, and Klopp never really gives you anything when it comes to players and his sort of annoyance with them. So I think he will. I think he will go in the summer. Bisetic also makes that a lot easier.
We've got a special guest joining us as well. Got a special guest joining us as well. My YouTube hero. He's got 1 minute. He's got to hold it up. He wants me to milk it. That's what he wants. So yeah, you guys know him from Coppish. It's Mr. Callum Sanderson himself. How are you doing, man?
Not too bad, bro. Can you hear me all right?
Yeah, we can hear you good, man. We can hear you good. How you doing?
Evening, gents. How you guys doing?
Good.
Yeah, good, mate. Good.
Not too bad. Yeah, we're just talking about the big
fun times at Liverpool, yeah?
Yeah, the fun times at Liverpool Football Club. That's going to be volume 2 of Pep's book next year. But yeah, we're just talking about a clear out that's needed for Liverpool in the summer. A big clear out that's needed for Liverpool in the summer. And I don't want the clear out just to be the players that are leaving because they're going out of contract either. I want it to be a proper clear out. So we're just talking about Fabinho there. And like Cav and me agree that Fabinho, for me, I think he's come to the end of his time at Liverpool. Klopp's basically put him out to dry a little bit, which I suppose we always want Klopp to be less sentimental. So maybe he's doing what we're asking. Do you see a future for Fabinho, Cal?
No, I actually came out quite early with this one. I can't remember what game it was, but I just remember watching the game and Klopp was just going off at Fabinho. Like, and they're having a back and forth. I can't remember what game it was. It was before the World Cup. And you're like, that's weird. You never really see Klopp having a back and forth with a player when the game's going on. And then it happened again. And I was like, it's happening again. Like, this is weird. And then obviously what he just said in the press conference recently as well, is just like, something's not right between the two. And I look at it and I'm just like, Fabinho's never been reliant on his athleticism, but you still had to have some sort of athleticism to play in our midfield. But it seems as though that's completely gone now. And he almost broke, was it Ferguson's ankle the other day? And you could visibly see in him how bad and distraught he felt. And it's like, you're a second behind now. And if you're a second behind in our midfield, then unfortunately a surplus to requirements. And look, I love Flacco. I'd say up until last season, he was our best DM in world football. Towards the back end of last season, I think he was overplayed and then kind of fell off. I don't think he should have started the Champions League final. He did. I think it should have been Henderson in the 6 and Keita in the 8. But Klopp went with Fabinho, which again was fair enough because at the time, in my opinion, he was the best DM in the world. But I think unfortunately his time's coming to an end now. We have to get someone a bit more mobile and combative in his position. No.
Fair enough. And
No, I'm listening to you guys, but at the same time, I do think you're right. I think he needs a bit of rest. Why not keep him? It's not like he's mad. He's massively up. He's like an old player. I just think we've overplayed him over the last 5 years. Get players in that can, play around him, like the Bisetic. Give him the legs around him. Play him in a double pivot with a Bisetic and see, has he really lost it? Because every time he's come into the team, that we played him with like Henderson, don't have legs as well. Thiago don't have legs either. So we probably see that there's gaps in the midfield from the attack to midfield to defense. Play him with some fresh couple of the young kids and see how he does. That's my opinion. I don't think we should just kind of bin him off so early. He's been great for us. And last season he wasn't poor. He was good. It's just this season as a whole, as a collective, we've been poor as a team. And I think we're just looking at individuals trying to pick out where we're going wrong and who should blame. And I think he's probably one of those players alongside Salah and alongside obviously the manager as well. So I just think, I don't know, get some other players in there. Maybe, I don't know who we want in there. Get say if we get an Amrabat, for instance, and then play him as a double pivot and see if these guys can boss the midfield together in different style of games, because not every game requires a Fab. Sometimes we need probably like a Henderson in there or a Thiago in there. But I just think we can't just bin him off so early, guys. But that's just my opinion anyway.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. So we talked about Fabinho. Klopp outed Fabinho out a little bit. There's another player I think that's getting away with it a little bit. So what do we what do we say about this man? Because he is our captain.
Yeah.
For me, he's the best captain or leader in English football. I've been saying that for a while now. But for Liverpool Football Club right now, it's going to be, 32 to start next season or into next season?
33, I think.
33. There you go. It's even worse.
I think so.
Only because you're captain, you shouldn't be a guaranteed starter, in my opinion. Right? And I don't think going from next season, if we buy the players we're meant to buy, say, I don't think Hendo's a guaranteed starter anymore. So if Hendo's not a guaranteed starter on a big contract, Cav, do you keep him around, or do you let him go, or do you keep him as a squad player only?
I think you keep him as a squad player.
I know it's just a hard one, by the way, because it's who it is. But
I mean, the wage is a killer, really, isn't it? Because if you weren't on that big pay packet, I don't think we'd really be bothered. We'd just kind of accept him as a squad player, and he comes on for the final 30 in particular games. Helps out in the cups, and does all his leadership on and off the pitch. But yeah, the amount of money he's on kind of questions a lot of it. He said himself after the World Cup that he didn't quite realise how much it took it out of him. And then if you watched him in the World Cup, I thought he was really good. Proper high energy, running all over the pitch, proper leader Hendo, wasn't it? And I'm just thinking now, with all the other departures that are gonna just happen in the summer, I don't think you can let him go as well, being the captain and his importance to this club and setting, the right attitude and things. He's pulled players like Elliot up in the past and things like this. He needs to continue to do that. It's very important. But I just think if he can get over this period of struggle, looking ahead to next season, can we utilize him as that man that comes on for the final half an hour, very experienced, obviously knows all the players and knows the system, knows Klopp, and just gives you an intense 30 minutes of running, say, and then, like I say, comes on for cup games and things like that. I think that's where he will work. A lot of people say he'll be the Millie replacement, but to be honest, I don't think he's as versatile as Millie is. Yeah, and that's going to be the trouble, because I think the midfield spot, whether it's a 6 or an 8, is really the only position he can play. He can't. I don't think he can. Well, I tell you what, I say I don't think he can do a job at right back.
I don't want to even in the 6.
Right back,
I don't want to see Henderson at the 6 either. I don't think it works for him at all.
The trouble with him in the 6, he plays it like an 8.
Yeah,
he still
exactly.
thinks he has that license to go so far forward.
He doesn't know to sit, and I don't know if you can train him there to sit like coach. Like you're going to be a 6 when he's played so long as more of attacking role as a midfielder. Yeah. Cal, what do you say about the 4 times Premier League Jordan Henderson?
This is a really tough one for me because I love Hendo. I love what he represents about the club. I love the ethos he brings. I love the character he brings to the club. But I have to ask myself a hard question. If Hendo is not the captain, do I want him at Liverpool club as a footballer? The answer is no. But at the same time, I'm going to mention something that I hate mentioning, but I have to. He's homegrown.
Yeah.
And we are lacking in homegrown players.
Well, have you seen the homegrowns they could register next season? Yeah. They're all youth team players, ain't they?
Exactly.
They can promote and give them the homegrown status. Because look, City. I've always wondered how Wolves do it because everyone's Portuguese. So I've always wondered how to. Yeah. Scott Carson stays at Man City for a reason. So he can get the homegrown stats. So maybe you're sort of like, maybe it's like the Hendo thing is like, we do need to move on, but he takes a homegrown spot up, which lets you get, someone
other
else.
Players. I think so. But the problem is his wages, but I don't think his wages become such an issue if we get new owners who have got that financial clout. So as a footballer, what I will say, I don't want to see Hendo starting regularly next season. If he's starting regularly next season, we've had an awful summer. But as a squad player, as I would say, as a 6th choice centre midfielder, I think you can do a lot worse than Jordan Henderson. But he can't be a starter next season. If he's a starter, then something massively has gone wrong, or Klopp is just doing a madness.
I agree.
Which is very possible as well.
Hendo.
I, I know. I would echo what Cal and Cav said. Look, we need him in the squad. I wouldn't say we need to get rid of him or sell him or anything like that. His leadership qualities are second to none when it comes to captain in this league. We have to keep a player like that in and around, or you're going to have people going wild. If we're going to lose Millie, looks like we're going to lose him in the summer, unless Klopp decides to give him a new deal. You're going to need to keep most of your leaders together. And you guys are right. Just keep him as a squad player. If he's starting games, then we definitely have an issue or a problem. But yeah, probably the cup games, like what Cal said, just give him a couple of cup games, let him lead out a couple of the youngsters on the pitch, keep them on the straight and narrow. But other than that, he should not be starting games of football for us. Not at the moment.
Okay,
anyway.
fair enough. So who else is there? So we know Naby's going to leave. That news has basically come out the last couple of days. I think that it looks like he's definitely going. Ox is going to go do his new job of being a TikTok ambassador. You've got.
Hey, keep him around for Perry at least.
Yeah, man.
That's what he's best at. Let's face
Put
it.
him on the media team. It would be great, honestly.
We've got quite a lot of like. Right, I'm going to talk about two centre backs, Joel Matip and Joe Gomez. Now, I know this is hard. Joel Matip looks like he's afraid of the football now. I don't know what it is. I've been watching him play this season, and I've been bigging up Joel Matip for time. When we won the Champions League, when him and Virgil was that partnership going into the end of that season, carrying into the next season, I thought he was possibly the second best centre back in the league with Virgil. He was incredible, right? Now I look at it with Matip. Every time Virgil don't play, Matip looks terrible. I remember the Champions League game against Benfica when it was no Virgil and Matip. I think was it Matip and Gomez then? Can't quite remember. Or Matip and Kanate, wasn't it? Matip and Kanate. Yeah, and shocking. So. And now you look at him and he looks like, look, Matip's great at coming out of the ball and all that. Beautiful. Watching him run is like, it shouldn't happen. It's one of them things you look at and you're like, this shouldn't be happening, but it looks good. But his defending's an issue right now. And Matip, I think, complained a couple of years ago that he wanted to leave the football club because the training was too intense and that's why he was getting injuries. And now I look at it, has that affected Matip physically over that long run? You know, under the way we play and train intensely over the last few years that Matip's been part with. Do we need to part way with Matip right now? And he's in his 30s. Then you've got Joe Gomez, who's like he's been at Liverpool forever. I think he's only, 25 still? 26? But he makes the same mistake time and time again in games. It's like Joe has all the ability in the world, but he's too laid back with it. He's too laid back. He has great ability, tremendous ability to be a defender, but he looks like he's too laid back with it. He, for me, is the Paul Pogba of centre-backs. And what I mean by that, when I look at Paul Pogba, I look at a midfielder who could arguably be one of the best midfielder of his generation with his talent. But he's so laid back with it, he doesn't put all that talent into games he plays for any team he plays for. And when I look at Joe Gomez, I look at a player who's got all the talent in the world, but he looks too laid back with it, and he causes the same mistakes time and time again, Kev. So what do you do with Joe Matip and Gomez? Do you keep Gomez? Do you let Matip go? Do you let Matip stay? Do you let Gomez go? What are we doing with these two?
Do you know what makes it difficult is because of how much work we've got to do in the squad in the summer. And they might just look at the centre-backs and go, do you know what? Let's not touch that for now. It's not perfect, but we've got so many other positions to worry about.
Got no choice, yeah.
The thing with Gomez is, for me, I think he's a perfect example of a player that could do with a loan. Just needs a loan. He needs to be somewhere that isn't Liverpool, where he can go out and command his box and become the main centre-back and build some confidence in his own ability, because it's there. But he's always coming in and out, injured, second fiddle and stuff. And I think he's just a guy that needs to go out and sort of establish himself again and actually like get clean sheets and get games where he starts to back himself more. I feel like a lot of the hesitancy he has in his game is the root of where he makes his mistakes. But that hesitancy comes because he ultimately doesn't have that 100% belief in what he's doing. He's always second guessing himself. And as we've seen, if he makes a mistake early on, his performance for the rest of the game can kind of be terrible at times. So I'd love if we could get a loan for him, go to a place like a Villa or somewhere like that where he can play week in, week out, and he's like the main guy and he can build some confidence. The truth of the matter is, we just don't have the squad to enable us to do that.
No,
That's
we
the
don't.
trouble. But it would be perfect for him and for us in terms of his development and then how that would contribute towards our future. Matip is just one that he's like, that's probably why he's never been talked at as one of the best centre backs in the world, even though I believe at points in his Liverpool career he was, because he needs the perfect partner, and Virgil was that for him, you know. And you see what he's like without him. I think his performances of late have really surprised me. I think he's been sort of below his actual level, and I think that's probably just down to confidence, to be honest. He's actually, you think about that Wolves game. I mean, even the past couple of games, he's made one or two mistakes, but what's his 90-minute performance been like? It's not been the worst, I wouldn't say. It's just that we don't really associate these errors with Matip. You know, he's such a good reader of the game, and he's usually in the right, his positional sense is usually really good, that he's, you know, he steps out at the right time, or he makes the challenge and covers quite well things. But confidence, I think, is caught up.
I would say, though, I think, like a goalkeeper, I think a centre-back's best attribute is their concentration. And if you don't concentrate for a couple of chances, you let 2 goals in, that's a game lost. You know, so, and that's why I look at Matip, is he got a full concentration on a 90-minute game right now, Cal. That's for you, Cal. Cal, can you hear him? Oh, there you are. You're there.
Yeah, I hear you now. So I glitched a little bit. So Matip, look, Matip's my second favourite Liverpool player. I know he's not our best player, but I just love Matip. There's something about him that just, I look at him, I'm like, you're an anomaly.
He is, yeah.
And I'll be honest, up until the World Cup, he was our best centre back because Konate was out injured a lot of that time, and Virgil was just having stinker after stinker. However, the argument that has always been labelled at him is, how would you do without Virgil? And we're seeing it at the moment, and it's not looking good at all. I do, in terms of Gomez, Cav, I'll be honest, I've never actually thought about a loan deal. I was on the side of selling him. The idea of a loan I could live with. I think it actually makes sense because you can kind of gauge how well he can develop outside of Liverpool and play week in, week out. Matip's a different story, though. He's much older than Gomez. The injuries are a problem as well. He still is picking up these injuries. If in an ideal world, in my opinion, we should go out and get 2 centre-backs. I think we should try and get Evan and Dicker on a free and Varvado, and that eliminates Matip and Gomez. And me personally, I would try and hang on to Nat Phillips because, again, 5th choice, but he's also he's also homegrown as well. I need a copy of that picture, Jamie. So I would try and do that. But again, because we've got so much to do, I do think they'll kind of look at centre-back situation, go, we'll leave it. Unless Nat definitely goes, even then, though, I think they'll just promote Reece Williams to 5th choice. I don't think we'll do anything centre-backs.
Is anyone, just quickly, just whilst we're talking centre-backs, anyone concerned about Virgil?
No.
Not just performances, but also hamstring injury.
Well, it's because when you get
that
serious knee injury, the man, he came back and Klopp went, right, you're back now. So just play every single game possible. And we're going to continue playing a high line where you got to turn and twist on your knee for a 90-minute match constantly, and didn't protect him enough. And now he's picking up little muscle injuries because of it. If Virgil's protected a little bit more and we drop the high line, we go 5 yards back, go a bit more tight at the back in the midfield area as well, get a bit more protection. Virgil's absolutely world class. There's no doubt about it. But you could be a world class player and put in a wrong scenario to make yourself look at what worse than you actually are. And I think that's what we did with Virgil when he came back from injury. And I know you're the biggest Gomez fan.
I want to pass on Gomez because every time I talk about Gomez, everyone has an issue. Because you don't see it. Because basically what happens is Gomez will have a good 90-minute game, makes one mistake, and then his whole game has been poor since that. So I can't back him no more. I'm just going to have to leave him. My team, I'll talk about my team. I'm not going to talk about
do you know what? When I suggested, look, he's such a down-to-earth, humble guy. Like, you see that with all the off-field stuff. And he's so calm. But I do feel like he needs to take that calmness up a level where it's like aggression. back himself and have that inner belief, because Virgil goes into every situation, usually because he's read the game well, but he believes he'll get across and make the challenge. He believes he'll win the header. He believes he'll
Kev,
deal
he
with the
does do that in
situation. I think
games, but it's what happens is he'll have
it's
a
fragile
good
though,
game,
isn't
and
it?
then what people do is nitpick the little areas. They'll be like, oh
Yeah.
no, he shouldn't have passed that, or it's a game of football. The different situations and circumstances will change. I get, obviously we're so used to maybe him making a little mistake, then we go, oh no. But remember, when we won the league, he was solid that whole season. He had a massive knee injury, came back, lost his spot in the team. So he has to deal with the confidence side of it. Oh, I'm not the partner with Virgil no more. I'm behind Matip. We went and signed Kanate. He was like, oh, so now I'm like fourth. And then he started seeing Nat getting games, and he was like, so hold on, am I fifth? So probably what you're seeing now is a guy that when he comes into the games, he's like, oh, well, it don't matter how well I play because I'm not going to start. I'm not going to be the main man next to Virgil van Dijk. So I'll just come and do my job because I get paid to do it. And then if I'm on the bench, I'm on the bench. I think that's what you're now seeing from him, instead of the one that was next to Virgil, went away to the England, got injured, came back, thought, okay, I'm going to get my position back, signed Kanate. Matip decided he didn't want to get injured no more. And now he's like, okay, so what am I, fourth, fifth? So sometimes I think he just gets unjust criticism. Look, there's games that you're going to be like, well, you shouldn't have done that. I get that. It's football. But there's games that, honestly, the other day, he had 2 back-to-back games where he kept clean sheets. No one said he played well. Everyone kind of said, oh, no, it was because of this guy, because of that. No, both centre-backs dominated that game. That's why we kept those two clean sheets. Then he went and made a mistake, and everyone forgot the other games. Like, oh, well, he shouldn't have done this. He shouldn't have jumped in the way. He tried to block a football. But I can't back him, guys. I'll go on all day. So
no, Enz, I love it that you back him. Man. You should back him,
I'll
man.
protect the players, man. I'm all for protecting our players.
Right,
he's the sort of guy that deserves backing.
Yeah, he's a good guy, man.
I know Cal ain't got much time left, so I just want to get Cal's opinion on another player. This one's going to hurt. It's not Bobby, so don't worry.
Is it Thiago, isn't it?
No, Thiago I would get rid of, but that's just me. I don't think Thiago suits Liverpool's system at all. And I actually think Thiago's been awful this season, but because he's so much better than everyone else in our midfield, he looks like he's doing more.
Jay,
I don't think Thiago suits Klopp's tactics right.
No, he don't. The way we play under Klopp, that's why he said, I've learned how to run. And it's like,
which is crazy.
Thiago doesn't need to run.
Yeah, that's like Xabi Alonso doing a high press and
it's just, you don't do it. But my one is Mo Salah. So, as I say, Mo Salah walking down the wing. It's look, he's always going to score goals. My thing is Mo Salah become our Cristiano Ronaldo? Has Mo Salah become our Ronaldo? Where stats wise, goals. On the pitch, he's actually making it worse for the team to achieve what they're trying to achieve. Now, when I watch Mo play, and people have been saying this season, so when Mo don't score a goal, before when Mo didn't score a goal, he'd still have a massive input in the game because who he is Mo Salah. He would make excellent runs. He would drag defenders away. It'd be a constant nuisance the whole game, even if he hasn't scored. But the last 12 months, I've been noticing with Mo that if he doesn't score, I can't remember anything in that game that Mo did, right? And when I look at Mo now, you look at him and he's dropped down in his pace a little bit, which is natural as you get older, I suppose. He's not as explosive as he once was. When was the last time you really saw him run in behind a defence or try and do a man for pace, a fullback, and try and get him behind him or try and find the channels or anything like that? We talk about his new positioning. I don't know what new positioning he is because he plays right wing. So I don't know this new position everyone keeps telling me about. Is he 3 yards closer to the touchline than he used to be? If that's what's ruined Mo Salah, that he's gone 3 yards closer to the touchline than he used to be, then we have a major issue. If he can't do what he did because he's 3 yards further right now than he used to be, then we got a major issue. We just really have. And people might not like to hear it. Yes, he has scored goals. He always will score goals. Ronaldo will always score goals. but does it benefit the team if your right winger is not doing anything for a whole game? He's not pressing. He's not really tracking back and cutting out the passing lanes no more. By the way, people, tracking back and being exactly level with Trent Alexander-Arnold is pointless. You want him like 10 yards in front to cut out the passing lanes so the pass can't get to Trent in the first place. So if he's not doing that anymore and he's not scoring goals, Cal, what is Mo doing?
Jamie, the argument is very strong from you. I can't lie. Why I'd keep Salah though is because this is the first season we've seen him not perform to a level where we're like, yeah, he's still the guy. and I hope this doesn't come across like I'm making excuses. In fact, I'll caveat straight away. His first touch has been really poor this season. As you said, his dribbling has been awful. His finishing has been poor as well. Like everyone goes on at Nunes, and rightly so. But he's second for big chances missed at Liverpool this season. And it's not even that far from Nunes. So, yeah, Nunes could have put more away, but Salah's second. So it's not like Salah's been great.
It's because Mo's got a back catalogue. That's why we
that's it. That's what it is. But why I'd give him the benefit of the doubt for this season, not to give him a cop-out for this, but Trent just doesn't overlap anymore. Hendo's legs have completely gone and he doesn't overlap anymore. So when Mo gets the ball now, he's surrounded by three players. And even if you had one runner and you took one player out of that equation and you had Mo against two, it's still going to be difficult, but it gives him a better chance. If you're surrounded by three players, unless you're prime Messi or Ronaldinho or prime Neymar, you're not getting out of that situation. And even if you cross the ball in, you've got Nunes in there as maybe the only person because no one's at the left wing at the moment. It's void at the moment. So I would keep Salah for another season, but again, a lot of this comes down to tactics. And I hate for me to keep on pushing it back to Klopp and Linders and all them guys. But for the players who have been magnificent for so long to now be crashing and burning, I have to look at what's above them. And the tactics are not helping him at all. But he has to help himself in terms of his finishing, first touch and dribbling as well.
No, I agree. I'd
keep him for one more season.
No, he didn't like that. It's gone.
It's all right.
Yeah. I'm going to be back now.
No.
Messaging me privately saying, "Don't come back, bro."
If we can adapt Mo into being Mo of old, I'll keep Mo. My worry is that Klopp's just going to keep Mo on that right wing, keep the way we're playing now, and it's not benefiting Mo, and that's not helping Liverpool Football Club at the same time. So, and plus he's getting older.
Yeah.
You know, when do you cut your losses with players? You know, Mo's not going to be Mo 3 years ago or 2 years ago or even last year. You know, this ain't been overnight as well with Mo. You can argue it's been from January to January where Mo hasn't performed at a level. And so do you need to look ahead and go, right, Mo's going to be like 31, going 31 next season. Is Mo going to give us what he did when he was 29, 28? Or have we got to move on and get somebody who can do what Klopp wants on that right wing, you know, with a bit more energy, a bit more power, a bit more pace and things like that? It is a hard one. It is a hard one to do, guys. It's a hard one to do. But look, listen, I have actually got to go because the wife just come upstairs and she's got to go somewhere quickly and I've got to have the kids. So I've actually got to shoot, guys. What we'll do, we'll carry on this debate because I think it's a good debate to have talking about the players in the football club sometime again this week, maybe. But Cav, big up to you for joining me. I do appreciate it.
Cheers, guys. Thank you.
Ends, always a pleasure, my friend.
Always a pleasure, man. Always a pleasure.
And Cal, thank you very much for dropping in, my man.
No,
I really do appreciate it.
All right, smash the like for Jamie. Go and follow Ends and Cav as well.
Appreciate it, man.
Cheers,
and
Cal. Appreciate it.
you got a second channel, ain't you? Is that?
Oh yeah, it's going to be crazy. So I've only made it today, so I'll see. I've got to come up with the content first, but it's going to be a podcast style channel, and we just chop up most of the tough debates that most channels can't or won't. So we'll try our best to see what we can do, but it'll be good.
Awesome. That sounds good, my man. That sounds good, guys. So thank you very much for joining us today, guys. We all do appreciate it. Thank you very much. Until probably tomorrow when I'm back on. Enjoy the rest of your night. I'll see you tomorrow, guys. Peace out.